We acknowledge that we gather on the traditional and treaty territories of the Williams Treaties First Nations, including Nishnawbe peoples of Hiawatha, Curve Lake, Alderville, Beausoleil, Jardine Island, Rama, and the Mississaugas of Skugog Island. For generations, the Michisagi Nishnawbe have cared for these lands and waters, guided by knowledge, ceremony, and responsibility. We recognize the ongoing impacts of these treaties, the injustices that occurred, and the enduring strength and resurgence of Indigenous communities. As we live and work here, we commit to reflection, respect, and meaningful action in the spirit of reconciliation. The Council for the City of Peterborough recognizes the principles contained in our Constitution and the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. For those that will now have the 30 seconds of silent reflection. I those that are able, if you would remove your hats and please stand for the singing of the national anthem. Strong and free from we stand on Lord worthy. God keep our land, Lord, does any member have a declaration of pecuniary interest at this time? Declarations, Councillor Crowley, please.
Yeah, I wasn't able to attend the closed session from last week, so I won't be voting on those reports. I believe it's 9A, B, C, D, E, F, and that's it, I believe.
Okay. Any other declarations at this time? No other declarations? We'll go to delegations. Our first delegation this evening, Mr. Murray Davenport, on the final citywide community planning permit bylaw report, IPG PL 20L26-030. Mr. Davenport, please, if we could have your name for the public record, the ward you're in, and you'll have 5 minutes to make a presentation, sir.
That's Murray Davenport, Lansdowne Street East. I'm not sure what the ward name is called. It's not autonomy. I know Gary and Keith are our reps.
Please proceed, Mr. Davenport.
The City of Peterborough Planning Development Department has submitted their new community planning permit system to the City of Peterborough for final approval. And that'll replace the zoning bylaw as we have known it for many years. The CPPS plans to zone properties throughout the city in accordance with the current official plan. The current official plan visualizes those lands south of Lansdowne Street East, north of Highway 115, and east of Ashburnham Drive from the current commercial and industrial uses to major mixed commercial, plus a reduced area of general employment. Major mixed commercial is effectively commercial on the ground floor and several stories of residential above the ground floor. Existing developed properties can continue to operate based on their existing uses within the existing building areas. Expansion of those buildings will not be permitted unless the buildings conform with mixed commercial designation. An Ontario Land Tribunal hearing was held recently to discuss the PATH or Habitat for Humanity application to create temporary residential use on property at 385 Lansdowne Street East. The Ontario Land Tribunal hearing officer denied the PATH application based on regulations within the City of Peterborough official plan combined with Province of Ontario regulations that acknowledge conflicts that exist between residential uses and general employment designated areas. With the approval of the CPPS showing major mixed commercial along Lansdowne Street East, the arguments presented at the Ontario Land Tribunal are reversed. PATH, or Habitat for Humanity, will automatically have residential zoning approval so they can finalize their site plan agreement to construct a homeless encampment on the property. A key argument expressed by Tormont Cat during council meetings and at the Ontario Land Tribunal was that they have previous experience in the city of Ottawa and city of Mississauga, where the municipality permitted the development of residential housing near their establishment. Residents complained about their business operations, and the current noise bylaw regulations caused them to relocate their business away from residential uses. We constructed the Tormont Cat building 20 years ago. The building is a new structural steel building that also houses battlefield equipment rentals. Tormont Cat is only one business within this currently commercial industrial area that should be concerned about the creation of residential housing in close proximity to their business. Many other businesses will also have to relocate over time to avoid constant residential complaints based on the community planning permit system. For example, Kingdon Timber Mart, Central Steelworks, Endicott Fuels, Kawartha Capital, and there are others. There are 15 small and medium-sized businesses located within this area, employing an estimated 300 to 500 employees. The obvious solution to this issue is a city-initiated official plan amendment that recognizes the existing uses within the area bounded by Lansdowne Street East, Ashburnham Drive, and Highway 115. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davenport. There may be questions. Questions for Mr. Davenport? No questions. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us this evening. Next, he's calling in is Nora Gordon, the counsel for Miller Thompson LLP. Do we have Mr. Gordon?
Thanks, Your Worship. My colleague's just going to call him in here.
Hello, Noah speaking.
Mr. Gordon, if we could have your name for the public record and your address, please, sir.
Oh, yes, of course. Good evening, Mayor Leal and members of council. My name is Noah Gordon, and I'm legal counsel to Tormont Industries Limited, and my business address is 40 King Street, West Toronto.
Mr. Gordon, you'll have 5 minutes to make a presentation. Please commence, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm here to speak tonight about the proposed community planning permit bylaw and its implications for my client. Tormont has been actively engaged in the city's community planning permit system process and has closely monitored the development of the CPP bylaw. On March 9th of this year, I wrote to council outlining concerns with the designation of the Toromont property under the draft bylaw and issues regarding land use compatibility, and requested amendments to address them. And I am pleased to report that city staff responded constructively to those concerns. The designation for the Toromont lands was corrected, and staff undertook a broader review of the land use compatibility provisions in the bylaw. And over the last several months, we have worked collaboratively with the city staff to identify improvements and strengthen the relevant provisions of the bylaw. Many of the changes proposed by Toromont have now been incorporated into the version of the CPP bylaw that is before you tonight. Now, staff have also committed to further consultation with Toromont as the city develops the terms of reference for future land use compatibility studies. So on that note, I would like to thank staff and council for their willingness to engage with us and to respond thoughtfully to the concerns that our client has raised. We appreciate the effort that has gone into improving the bylaw and strengthening the protection of employment lands and industrial operations in the city. But before I conclude tonight, I would be remiss if I didn't address an important qualification to my comments. Toromont's affiliate, Battlefield, has been pursuing a site plan amendment for a new facility on the west side of Consumers Place since 2019. And when I appeared before council more than 2 years ago in the context of the PATH proceeding, significant concern was expressed about the length of time the SPA application had already been in process at that time. And now at that time, the application had been under review for approximately 5 years. And I recall members of this council reassuring my client that Peterborough was open for business and encouraging staff to move that file forward. And today, more than 7 years after the process began, Battlefield is still in the process of obtaining a site plan amendment. And I'm not intimately involved with that process at this time, but in preparing my comments today, I was informed that the city has requested additional revisions to the drainage plan submitted, which necessitates what I understand to be yet another redesign and resubmission for the SPA materials. And so the reason I raise this tonight is because Toromont's support for the improvements made to the CPP bylaw is accompanied by a very clear expectation that the implementation or interpretation of the new bylaw will not create new requirements or new hurdles or additional delays for applications that have already been spent years in the approval process. 7 years is an extraordinary amount of time for a site plan amendment application. And businesses looking to invest in Peterborough need certainty and predictability and timely decision-making. And my client remains committed to working with the city and sincerely hopes to see this application finalized through the municipal process. But if unreasonable delays occur, including delays arising from the implementation of the new CPP framework, my client may be left with no practical option but to seek relief from the Ontario Land Tribunal again. And that is clearly not the preferred outcome. Litigation would impose additional costs and delays on everyone involved. The preference is and remains a timely resolution through cooperation with the city staff. So with that, I thank you again for the opportunity to speak this evening, and I would be pleased to answer any questions if you have any.
Thanks very much, Mr. Gordon, for your presentation. There may be questions. Councillor Hickey, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And Mr. Gordon, thank you for the presentation. I'm interested in the 7-year plan that Battlefield has struggled, it seems, to get approved. Can you tell me, it might be an unfair question, would this ride totally on the city? Would it ride partially on Battlefield? Is there any extenuating circumstances that we don't know about that would cause this to be a 7-year situation?
Mr. Gordon, please.
So with the caveat that I am not intimately involved that I'm not intimately involved in the application process, certainly not since 2019. But my understanding is that there has been delay in part by the city, and that certain understandings have what I guess I will say is there is an understanding, let's say, of the drainage requirements, et cetera, and then time has elapsed, and then those expectations requirements have changed. Again, our client would certainly be happy to, take this offline and look at, other opportunities to move this along. But yes, my understanding is indeed that there have been some delays, certainly at the city level.
Thank you very much. And yes, I think it's important that it's taken offline. I'll ask our planning staff their view too later on. I don't know if you care to listen or not, but thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Hickey.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Gordon? Councillor Duguay, please.
Thank you, Mayor Leal. Mr. Gordon, I assume you had opportunity to hear the previous delegate, Mr. Davenport, speak to his concerns regarding the Lansdowne Street East mixed residential commercial corridor. You heard that delegation, sir?
Yes, I did. However, I will say that I believe my feed was delayed. I don't believe I heard all of it because then my phone rang. So I do want to just qualify it by saying that I think it was cut off, but I did hear the majority of it.
So if I can, Your Worship, to the extent you were able to hear Mr. Davenport's delegation, did you agree with his assertions and his commentary?
Mr. Gordon, please.
Through you, the communications that have been going on with my client in the background with the city have been ongoing for several months, and on a without prejudice basis, directly with the city and my client, and in getting instructions to my client for those communications. So it is not lost on me that Mr. Davenport is dealing with the information that has come out from the public and wasn't privy to those conversations that I was having directly with city staff and city legal, et cetera. So to the extent that Mr. Davenport raised concerns with the introduction of sensitive land uses, and he said the residential, with respect to the residential introduction in the vicinity, I would say that to the extent that those concerns relate to the introduction of sensitive land uses next to major facilities, I would agree with that, as does the Ontario Land Tribunal, which in the proceeding that Mr. Davenport referred to was the past appeal, of course, last year, where the tribunal was very clear about any introduction of sensitive land uses being thoroughly and effectively considered and analyzed and have appropriate protections in place for existing facilities. So to the extent that Mr. Davenport was referring to those the introduction of those sensitive land uses near major facilities, yes, I would agree with that.
Anything further, Councillor Duguay? Any further questions for Mr. Gordon? Thank you very much, Mr. Gordon.
Thank you.
Ian Attridge, please, from Reimagine Peterborough. We could get your name and your word, Ian, for the public record, and you have 5 minutes to make a presentation.
Thank you, Ian Attridge, and I live on Gilchrist Street in Town Ward.
Please commence.
Good evening, Mayor Leal, council, staff, and citizens. Thank you for this opportunity to speak on the CPPS. Tonight, I'm representing Reimagine Peterborough, a volunteer community group. I want to thank staff, Caroline and Brad and other staff who have worked so much on the CPPS. I also want to thank council for reading through those pages, for listening to delegations over time, and also for the citizens and community members and organizations who have participated in this initiative. I want to extend particular thanks to Councillor La Chica, who has worked closely and diligently with community organizations on the CPPS. This is the first opportunity tonight to speak to council on the substantially revised bylaw, new schedules, and other bylaws. Green development standards and protecting forests and wetlands are well-known ways to address the climate and nature crises. Europe's deadly heat wave that we're hearing about this week, and here in Peterborough, this week's heat wave that's coming on to us highlight the need for action. The Peterborough public always puts protecting the environment and natural areas at or near the top of the priorities for city initiatives, and did so again in the CPPS consultations. My first point I'd like to make tonight is that voluntary green development standards should accompany the bylaw and be encouraged at the pre-consultation phase. Several community groups have asked for voluntary green development standards to be set out on a checklist, encouraged for development applications, and supported by incentives in a community improvement plan. Thank you for approving these directions at committee last week and hopefully again this evening. My second point is that designation as an environmental protection, or EP, precinct is the best protection for natural areas, and an EIS and overlay approach alone is insufficient. The province and we as a community identified the criteria for protecting natural features through our official plan. Section 4.6.2 of the OP says, and I quote, "Level A features are afforded the highest level of protection, and the intent is to protect the form and function of these areas in situ, in place. Development and site alteration will not be permitted in Level A provincially significant wetlands or significant woodlands and other features." Thus, we need to take both OP approaches in this bylaw, namely designation of land uses in the environmental protection precinct, as well as doing an EIS, environmental impact study, if development is proposed. Designation of natural areas does a number of things. It puts on a map where the important natural areas are, so that any landholder, public works, utilities, or others will know that they need special attention. It makes it clear to developers where to avoid certain areas and doesn't mislead them. They will have the certainty and not need expensive studies, which is what they have asked for. Of course, if new areas are proposed, the city will consult with the public and any current legal uses can continue. One of the things by putting it on the map as environmental precinct is it makes it available to landowners any city or ORCA programs and federal and provincial tax incentives to support natural areas. Some of these natural areas are already in the EP category, and that's great. Still, some are missing, and EISs are not always used nor effective. There are exemptions and other aspects in the bylaw. While the bylaw has some gaps, we can round out protection fairly easily for some features and develop a strategy for the rest. In many cases, determining what areas fit the OP Level A designation criteria is fairly simple. It would require a few hours of staff GIS mapping and a few days in the field to check a few areas against that mapping. That would easily apply to Level A features, such as old growth forests in Jackson Park or at Trent's Promise Rock Nature Area. Both of these have been well studied and mapped, including by the city. We've paid good money for consultants to look at these, and yet they're not yet in environmental protection. Significant woodlands also qualify where they are 2 hectares or larger, are adjacent to watercourses, or have environmental protection.
Your time's up, Pete, but I'll give you a little bit of latitude here to finish your thought.
Thank you very much, Mayor Leo. My main point is, let's do the fairly simple assessments with our existing staff. Then we'll have updates ready for the 2027 year review of the bylaw. We can develop a strategy over the next year to address the more complicated ones, but the simple ones should be fairly easy to accomplish and make some progress over the next year. We are willing to help, and I really encourage you to pass the General Committee's motion tonight. Thank you, and I welcome any questions.
Thanks for your presentation. Questions for Mr. Attridge? Questions? Questions? No questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
The next delegation is on Budget Information Report FCS FSF 26-007. Mr. Parkin, please. And if we could have your name and your ward for the public record, please, sir. And you'll have 5 minutes to make a presentation.
My name is Bob Parkin, and I'm fortunate to live in Town Ward where I have two pretty good councillors, Nasika and Burke. Thank you for this opportunity to speak about my grave concerns about your proposed annual tax increase. This will be the fourth year in a row that taxpayers have struggled with increases of just under 7%. Taxpayers need to stand up and voice their concerns like I am. If they don't, then council is more or less getting the green light to raise our taxes even more on a regular annual basis. My biggest cause for concern is the fact that our current councillors and our prospective new councillors have not expressed any serious intentions about lowering our annual tax increases. Even our local media, print and TV, have so far avoided commenting or reporting much on the proposed increases. Councillors should focus on what the city needs to have and what the city would like to have in a perfect world. Some might call it tough love. A few of our needs are an adequately funded police department, so they can start to provide the protection services that we demand. They are understaffed, overworked. It's very frustrating for the officers to provide adequate service to the community. Also, road and sewer repairs and waste collection, they're needed, just to name a few of the many needed things in our city. Our many and varied cultural events are needed to attract new residents with additional cash flow. Some of the things we want, but not necessarily needed, are a new arena. I would like to see a new arena if we can afford it. I suggest building the new arena beside the Memorial Center and tear it down after the new arena is completed, saving taxpayers perhaps 20 to 30 million in costs. Maybe the city could focus less on affordable housing. Why does it seem to be the city's responsibility? I know I'm old-fashioned, but my parents raised me to get a good education, find a good job, do a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, and I would probably be able to afford a starter home without depending on others for financial help. I know times have changed, but can we afford to continue investing in housing for the unfortunately down and out who now seem to expect the overburdened taxpayers to pay their way for them? For sure, some current services and expenditures will have to be cut. Again, it's called tough love. If council proceeds with these outrageous tax increases for the fourth year in a row, I may be forced to consider two options. In a few years, I will have to sell my home, spend my equity, and move into a retirement home. Option two is to stand my ground against this council's irresponsible annual tax increases by considering to run for mayor in the upcoming elections. I would be a one-issue mayoralty candidate. My platform would basically be that all future tax increases cannot exceed the annual inflation rate, usually about 3.5%. I'm 76 years old. Please don't force me to run as mayor. I am too old. I respect all our city councilors and the mayor. You are constantly faced with difficult decisions. No matter how hard you try, you are never going to please everyone, perhaps myself included, and you are not expected to. Taxpayers elect you to do your best, which is rarely good enough for everyone. That's just a hard fact of life in our times. Please get our taxes under control. And thank you for listening to me. I do have a question, though. Are you discussing the proposed tax increases tonight? If you are, I'll stick around.
Thanks very much, Mr. Parker. There could be some questions for you. Councillor Crowley, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Thanks, Bob, for coming out tonight. I think you're expressing something that we have heard around the city for the last 4 years. You mentioned affordable housing. Is there anything else? Like, did you happen to read through some of the budget documentation that we got last year?
No, I did not have a chance. And there are many, many issues. I just don't have time to touch on them all. I'm not knowledgeable about them all. That's why you people are elected, because
Sure.
you people do the thinking.
Sometimes. Depends who you talk to, I guess.
Yeah.
No, I think you've hit on a pretty valuable point. When you're talking about affordable housing, one of the things that you mentioned is why are we paying for it? And I
Mhm.
think that you've hit on something that not a lot of people understand is that this city can't run a deficit. And we have to do everything for as many people as possible who live in the city
Yes.
without running a deficit and without a lot of help from our senior provincial and federal partners, will say.
Correct.
So a lot of this falls on our backs and taxpayers' backs, which is wholly unfortunate. So I
Councillor Crowley,
think
I know there's
we
a
need to do
question
that.
there
So,
somewhere.
well, that was an answer to my previous question, but I just want to say thank you so much, Bob, for coming out.
My pleasure.
All right, thank you, sir.
Further questions for Mr. Parkin? Councillor Baldwin, please.
Thank you, your worship. Mr. Parkin, this is twice now you've been at council in both evenings. You've given council some good common sense advice, so thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Do you know did you know that the last date for nominations is August 21st of this year?
Oh, yes, I know that for sure. Believe me, I don't want to run for mayor, but I will if I'm forced to.
Your worship, that's my only comment or question. I just wanted to make sure that Mr. Parkin knew that the nominations closed in August.
I appreciate that's a good public service gesture, Councillor Baldwin. Is there any further questions for Mr. Parkin? Thanks very much, sir. We do appreciate your coming forward with your comments.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Next, I would ask Joanna Basic Brooking to come forward, please, on the same budget matter. Joanne? Doesn't appear that she's here. Next, I would ask Andrea Lack to come forward over Tower Concurrent CT-0524 at 95 Marina Boulevard, report IPG PL 26-025. Ms. Lack, please. Welcome. If we could have your name for your public record, the ward you live in, and you'll have 5 minutes to make a presentation.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Andrea Lack, and I'm a resident of Marina Boulevard. I'm here today in strong opposition to the proposed radio communication tower on 95 Marina Boulevard. We are humbly requesting that you reconsider installing this wireless communication tower near our home. Our main concern after researching wireless towers being placed near residential areas is the serious and harmful effects that they have on one's health. We have read your notice explaining that this tower is to be installed with the least amount of impact on one's health. However, we have a young child and hope to expand our family, and we truly do not feel safe raising our children beside a tower that emits radiation, regardless of how much radiation is emitted. To us, it feels as though our health is being used as an experiment. There's still no definitive proof that living beside a cell phone tower is completely safe over the long term. Yet, families are being expected to accept this risk. I ask each of you sitting on council today to honestly answer this question. Would you choose to live beside a wireless communication tower 24 hours a day with your own family? I don't believe anyone would willingly choose to be microwaved around the clock, especially when children are involved. There have been many studies highlighting the negative health effects associated with living near a cell phone tower. In particular, some studies outline the potential health effects on children who are still developing. Although many sources try to downplay the potential effects on cell phone towers, they acknowledge that more studies are required. For example, the American Cancer Association says that cell phone towers are still relatively new and many people are understandably concerned about these RF waves. Most expert organizations also agree that more research is needed to help clarify this, especially for any possible long-term effects. There has not been any concrete evidence to suggest that there are no health concerns posed by living near these towers. There have been also articles reported by CBC quoting Magda Havis, professor at Trent University in Peterborough, Ontario, who spent decades studying these electromagnetic frequencies. And she says that Health Canada's guidelines is so outdated, it's a decade outdated, and also noted that elementary kids are much more sensitive to any kind of pollutant in the environment, much more than adults. The article also quotes Frank Clegg, CEO of Canadians for Safe Technology, as saying, Health Canada's regulations haven't seen significant changes since the mid-80s, whereas other countries like China, Russia, Italy, Switzerland have implemented stricter guidelines. With all this being said, we have a school right down the street, approximately 50 yards from the proposed location. There's also a high school across the river, approximately 200 yards away. Have the parents, teachers, and staff of these schools been notified of this proposal, considering the potential impact it may have on these children and families? I would also like to ask the council another important question. How is this proposal going to affect the growth and development of children? If there is still uncertainty surrounding the long-term effects of radio frequency radiation, why should children be the ones exposed while they're still growing and developing? Another point of contention is the economic effect this will have on our homeowners. Installing this tower in such close proximity would certainly drive down our home values, because many home buyers are apprehensive about purchasing homes near a wireless communication tower that emits radiation. In fact, when we were in the process of purchasing our home, we specifically ruled out any properties located near cell phone towers or hydro lines due to the associated health concerns. Our real estate agent also advised against purchasing near them for several reasons, including aesthetic concerns, increased radiation exposure, potential fire risks, and the impact on property values. I also questioned the proposed setback distance of approximately 120 meters from nearby homes. Based on the information provided, this criterion does not appear to be met for several residences surrounding the proposed tower site, including the homes and condominiums located behind the property. These properties do not appear to fall within the same setback distances being referenced. I would therefore ask for clarification on how these setbacks were calculated and whether all nearby residences have been properly considered. Furthermore, I would expect schools and other locations where children spend significant amount of time to require even greater separation from these towers. Has this adequately been considered as part of the planning and approval process? Given the potential long-term implications, I believe a thorough assessment of the tower's proximity to schools and its impact on children should be an important part of the decision-making process. We're also deeply concerned about the impact this proposal may have on our environment and wildlife. At the nearby park, where the tower is supposed to be proposed, there used to be a sign placed by Orca recognizing the importance of protecting this land and its wildlife. There's an active fox den in this area. How will the construction and operation of this tower impact the wildlife that calls this area their home? Has an environmental assessment been completed to determine these effects?
It's like your time's up, but I'll let you finish your thought there.
Okay, so people are busy with their work and family members. Yeah, within only a couple of days of walking through our neighborhood, we managed to collect a significant number of signatures opposing this proposal. That demonstrates how deeply concerned our community is. We also know that council received an email from the Christian school located down the street expressing their concerns about this proposal. We respectfully ask that the voices of our residents, our schools, and our families not be ignored. We plead with you with all our hearts to reconsider this proposal and to relocate the tower to a more appropriate non-residential location. When we moved to Peterborough 3 years ago, we hoped to enjoy a peaceful, healthier lifestyle. Instead, we now feel stressed and unsafe, particularly for our child who may have to grow up beside something that could potentially impact his health in the future. We will end with one simple question. Would you want to live beside a cell phone tower with your family? We do not believe anyone would willingly choose to place their family, especially their children, in that position. And we certainly don't want to raise our family beside a wireless communication tower. Therefore, we humbly beg you to reconsider this proposal and relocate the tower to a non-residential area where it will have far less impact on families, schools, homeowners, and wildlife. Thank you for taking the time to hear us out and for thoughtfully considering the concerns of the residents you represent. In Christ, Andrea Lack.
Thanks very much, Ms. Lack. There could be some questions for you. Questions? Councillor Burke, please.
Thanks, Mayor Leo. Through you to the delegates, thank you for coming. I would not want to move somewhere that was next to a cell phone tower. Can you please share with me how many people signed the petition?
In a matter of about a week and a half of us walking through in the evening in the winter, at least we have approximately 50 people, 49 people.
Wow, amazing. So there was 3 of us that voted against the tower last week. Do you have anything that you want to say to the other 7 as we're getting ready to look at this again?
I'd like,
Black, please. Or, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
my name's Martha Abrahamsey and I live across from Andrea at 113 Marina Boulevard.
Welcome.
Thank you. So as we were going door to door, speaking to people about this issue and asking for signatures, one very disturbing comment that was said over and over to us again and again was, they're just going to do what they want. They put corporate interests to get ahead of their citizens. They already know what they want to do. Why bother even fighting against it? I find that very discouraging and disheartening. And yes, people are very busy. They're stressed with the economy. They've got children, housework to do. And my neighbors tonight, both of them, Michelle and Michael, they couldn't come because they were working. And they've just thrown their hands up. They're giving up. And it's sad because people, I don't think it's apathy. I think people are just giving up against fighting against these things because they don't have the energy and the time, and they just think there's an agenda and it's going to be met whether we like it or not.
We thank the 3 of you that did vote in opposition to it, and we deeply ask the other 7 to consider that. This is our home. This is where we chose to raise our families. We want our son to continue to stay in that area. We love Marina Boulevard. We love the area. We love the neighbors that we're surrounded by. And we hate to see something like this come to pass. And so we are asking you to take that into consideration at this point and to relocate the tower.
Councillor Baldwin, please, and then Councillor Rio.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. It's been a while since I've been on council now, but I've never known comments to be, on a particular issue, we start calling out councillors who voted one way or the other. It's the first time in my recollection we've done that. We've all been on council when decisions don't go one way or the other, but other than tonight, I've never heard a councillor say that. So I just want to put that on the record. I took offense to that. My question to the delegates, have you made a presentation to MP Harrison? Because my understanding is that the telecommunication networks rest with the federal government. Have you had a chance to speak with MP Harrison?
Initially,
Ms. Lack, please, or, yeah, go ahead, either one.
Initially, when this notification came to us, I was making some phone calls to see who we would talk to about, fighting against this. So I got so many different answers. I did call the MP's office, and this was before Emma was, I can't remember who it was, but
I think it was the MP then, maybe.
Who was it?
Michelle Ferrari, maybe.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she directed me and said, no, this is a city council issue. And we have nothing to do with it. And then we were directed to call Spectra. So we sort of got the runaround a little bit. We made several different phone calls, and we were told it wasn't a federal issue.
Thanks for that. Through your worship, I heard you say that your students or your children were in Christian school. Is that correct? Did I hear that correctly?
I said my child doesn't go to the Christian school, but I said there was a Christian school that's on that particular street that had sent an email to, requesting that this not happen.
They regularly take their children to the park, and
as part of their class.
They utilize that park quite often.
Through your worship, you don't recall to whom you sent that communication, that email?
That was probably sent to the same, I think it was Wilder.
Elder. Will Elder?
Will Elder, possibly. I think he's part of this whole Spectra cell phone tower proposal thing. And I think that was sent to him.
Last question I had, Your Worship. There's a public school on Marina Boulevard as well, Edmonton Heights Public School. Have you made a delegation to the Kawartha Pine Ridge District School Board expressing your concerns?
Yeah.
Black, please. Yeah, have.
I called the superintendent. I actually physically went to the school myself, and they told me to call the superintendent. And I was told it's a non-issue for them. Shut down.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Rial, please.
Worships to the presenter. I want to make this very clear. I've been on council for 16 years. and we've had this debate several times about cell phone towers. Cell phone towers are a federal mandated and not a city mandated. So you should take your petition to MP Emma Harrison. They are the ones that decide where the cell phone towers are going. We only, as a city, are complying with what they want for the Spectra, or maybe it's Rogers TV or whatever it is that's putting the cell phone tower in. So I don't know where you got this information before, but I'm telling you, we've had this debate several times about cell phone towers in the city of Peterborough. It is a federal mandated program. We don't have any say over where they put them. Only when it comes addressed here, it's on a piece of property, that's when it comes before us, that they are doing us, I shouldn't say a favor, but telling us where the cell phone tower is going to go. If you would like it to be moved and all of the delegation or what you said tonight, then I think you should take it to the doors of Emma Harrison, the MP for the city of Peterborough. They have legislation over this.
If that's the case, then why are you voting on it?
Because it is the site. It is not to do with the cell phone tower itself. It has to do, this is where they've chosen the location for the cell phone tower. If you people would like it moved for all the reasons you've said, I'm saying we have debated this for 16 years on council here, and we're told emphatically it is a federal program, not a municipal program. It's not us to decide where a cell phone tower goes. Okay?
Like I said, I did call her office and I was told it wasn't their issue.
No, you said Michelle Ferrari.
Yeah.
Well, now you have a
when
new
this
MP,
was
so
brought to our
it is
attention,
their, well, it's CRTC.
yes.
It's a government body. It's not the city of Peterborough.
Any further questions? Any further questions? Councillor Crowley, please. Questions?
Thank you, Chair, through you. So thank you both very much for coming. Did either one of you happen to read the recommendations in the report when you went and took a petition around to your neighbors? Did you happen to read the report and read what it said, just to hop on what Councillor Riel said?
Ms. Lack, please, or?
Sorry, can you clarify what?
So in a report that we get, usually there's recommendations, and that's what council either approves or denies. And in this particular report, it doesn't say that council will be approving a tower. So that's just to point that out to you. I wasn't sure if either one of you had sort of read the report, and I don't mean it in sort of a challenging way at all. I just, you both have a lot of passion, and I think, to Councillor Riel's point, that needs to be directed to that level that handles this and could potentially do something about it. So
I'm just concerned that we're going to go to that particular person and she's going to direct us back here or direct us somewhere else. Right? So is there a way that we can get some sort of a letter or set some sort of a confirmation?
I think what may be helpful here, if we got you a copy of the report, and then when you visit MP Harrison's office, you can present the report because all the background is there.
absolutely. And through you, Chair, if just one quick thing, I know it's not a question, but I'll just add, if you want to reach out to your ward councillors, they can absolutely provide you Emma Harrison's contact information, and or any one of us, and we can get that for you.
Yeah, we could look after that.
Absolutely.
I just have one more question as well. Since we're in the process of going to Emma, is there a way for you to halt this process of it being moved forward before we go and speak? Because this can continue while we're trying to get approval for this to be moved. So, this could be continuing on while we're still in the process of that, and that kind of.
Yeah, the challenge we have here is the CRTC, the Canadian Radio Television Commission. They're the ones that rule on this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clearly a federal jurisdiction. So we can get you the report that you could take to MP Harrison. Yes, Councillor Burke?
Through you, Chair, the other councillors have a fair point. We're really just being asked to approve that the process was done correctly to allow for this tower to happen. We're asked to approve that, and it's in the report. But I do think that, to your point, if we vote against it, based on your feedback, it might help with different levels of government near cost. Thank you.
Councillor Beamer, please.
Through you, Mayor, to Martha and Andrea. Good to see you, Martha. Andrea, thanks for being here. I know we've been in communication with Councillor Hakey about the concerns. Certainly, I'll advocate on your behalf, but just in fairness to council, the recommendations in front of us, one of the recommendations that we're approving tonight states that ISED Canada be further advised that the proposal for the telecommunications structure at 95 Marina Boulevard resulted in questions and concerns raised by the members of the public. So just, are you aware that that's one of the recommendations with all the email correspondence raising the legitimate concerns you have provided? Those emails, those concerns, we're passing on to them saying, these are the concerns. Are you just aware that's one of the recommendations, is we are taking your concerns and forwarded to them and saying, this is what the public in Peterborough is saying? Just, are you aware that's what we're, okay.
Good.
Just
Good.
to be clear, we're not actually approving it tonight because it's passing on correspondence saying essentially no. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Beamer. Any further questions? Any further questions? Thank you very much for being with us this evening. Our next presenter, Lucas Sendewick and Kathleen Zhang. Notice of objection for 123 Simcoe Street. Report IPG PL 26-038. Welcome. If we could have both your names for the public record, you'll have 5 minutes to make a presentation.
Okay. My name is Xin Zhang, and this is my lawyer for Mr. Sadnik. So yeah, so he can help me, but I prefer I'm here for show everyone and for for introduce my family, for show everyone we're responsible people who own the 123 Simcoe Street. Okay.
Please commence.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. So after this greeting, I think you already know my English is not my first language, but my lawyer definitely can help me for speech, but I still decided to speak ourselves. Even this is my first time to speak English in formal meeting.
You're doing very well, by the way, very well.
Thank you very much, because this matter is very, very important to our family. So our family have me and my husband, both, and also we have 2 boys. They just, my youngest just graduate the university. My older son already graduate university in 3 years, and he's working, both of them in Montreal right now. Okay, and also I just stand here. We want to show our family is a responsible family, and also we're not to try to demolish this building. We respectfully share our concerns, and I understand the council has already received our lawyer's formal objection in May, and on June 17. My lawyer submitted additional material regarding our investment summary of this building and the photos to showing the condition of the building before renovation, the work completed, and the result. On June 17, I hope everyone already saw it with the picture, the before and the after. So I hope you already read it, and thank you for your timing. We purchased this building in 2018. The second floor is vacant for years. We couldn't use it. So we got a city permit for the renovation in 2021. Unfortunately, it was COVID time. So we waited until the end of 2022 to start the renovation. By the time, everything cost almost double of the price to compare before the pandemic. So we have invested more than 680,000 of our own money into maintaining, renovating, and improving the building, upgraded electrical and plumbing system, installed fire safety systems, and completed major renovations that created 2 residential apartment units. these investments wanted to ensure its continued use and contribution to the community. It's very beautiful right now. So we have the tenant over there. And yeah, I have all the invoice and I hired all the professional people for have the design, architecture and the engineering. I have provided all the document if you need. And we respect history. We respect history for sure. And we are not trying to demolish the building. We are responsible people for long-term owner. And we have already showing our commitment with our action and investment. So this property is also a very important part of our family's future retirement security. Because my husband already 66 years old, I'm 57 years old. So we're planning for retirement. But this is very important for us. And we're concerned that heritage designation would have large future costs. This includes higher costs for repairs and replacements, additional approval requirements, reduced flexibility in managing the property, increased the long-term financial burden, reduced the marketable ability and investment value. I believe everyone knows that. If the city believes this building should be preserved for the public benefit, we respectfully ask council to consider whether it is fair for almost all of the financial burden and the responsibility to fall on one private family. I'm shaking right now.
Ms. Egg, your time's up, but I'll give you a couple moments to finish your thought.
Okay, I'm very almost there.
Yep.
We respectfully
Just take your time. Just
okay.
take your time.
I'm shaking, honestly. We respectfully ask the council to consider our investment, our commitment of this property when you're making its decision. Thank you so much for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. There could be questions for you.
Okay, sure.
Questions? Questions? Thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Yeah, I'd rather show you our family, even my lawyer here for supporting me, because I know there's a problem for our language, for the culture, everything. Right.
You did a very good job, and
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah.
Councillor Purnell, question. Just go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's really not a question. It's just thank you for coming tonight, and you did a beautiful job renovating that building. I just wanted to acknowledge that I'd seen the photos.
Thank you very much.
Any questions? Any questions? Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you very
welcome.
much. That concludes our registered delegations. We now go to our consent items, and Councillor Crowley, we noted your pecuniary interest on A, B, C, D, E, and F. Anybody wants to speak to 9A? 9A? 9B? 9C? 9D? 9E? 9F? Just for sake of organization, if we can get somebody to move those, and Councillor Vasiliadis, the conference requester will go to a vote, then we go to the rest of them. John, just because of his declaration there. No, okay, we can wait till then. I just don't want to miss your declaration, that's all. G. G. H. H, okay, we'll separate that one out. I. It's a long alphabet here. J. J. Don't want to miss anybody. J. K. Okay. L. L. M. M. N. N. O. E. Okay.
Q. Q. R. R has been separated out. S. S. T. U. I think that's the longest list we ever have, Mr. Clerk. I'll defer to you here. I just don't want to make any mistakes.
Well, thanks, Your Worship. The items that were separated this evening were 9A, 9B, 9C, D, E, and F, and those were Councillor Crowley's were separated for his pecuniary interest.
Right.
9H was identified to speak.
Correct.
9M
Correct.
was identified to speak.
Yes. O.
And O was identified to speak.
No, I'm sorry, P.
Sorry, yeah, P.
Q.
And 9R was identified to speak.
9Q. Did somebody raise 9Q? Yes, Q has also been separated, Mr. Clerk.
So for consent this evening, Your Worship, it would be 9G, 9I, 9J, 9K,
Yes.
9L, 9N,
Yes. Yes.
9O,
Yes.
9S,
Yes.
9T,
Yes.
and 9U.
Someone like to move those? Councillor Vasiliadis, Councillor Beamer. Comments or questions? We'll go to a vote. Mr. Clerk?
Thanks, Your Worship. No, those were separated for an individual vote due to your pecuniary. Worship, my colleague's just going to load those into the vote system. It's Councillor Vasiliadis and Councillor Beamer.
And that's carried. We'll go back now to 9A. Someone like to move 9A? Councillor Burke, seconder. Councillor LaChica, we'll go to a vote. The clerk wants us to go through one by one. Okay, we just got some guides here. We'll move them all on one A to F. Then somebody likes to, Councillor Burke, Councillor LaChica. Comments or questions? We'll go to a vote. Sorry.
It's approved. 9G. Somebody want 9G? No, 9H. Councillor Chica. John G was approved on consent, right? Yeah.
Right.
Done. Councillor Chica, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Through you, Your Worship. I'm taking the opportunity to speak a second time to this.
We'll
Again,
get it on the floor for debate. You're
okay.
moving it, Councillor Burke.
Yeah, yes.
Please proceed.
Thank you. So part of the outcome of last week and the motion that I had put forward, just the extra recommendations that were approved by council related to an accompanying document, essentially, to the CPPS to uphold incentives for voluntary green development standards. That was the gist of the extra recommendations. And the idea was that, in this year, certain things would be done so that when an upcoming review comes up, we'd be in a better place in terms of the alignment of all those things. We are a community that is connected to our natural environment, and that's why we love it here. We have public and community organizations that are really motivated to make sure that we protect and nurture our environment. We have a Climate Action Plan 2.0 that we've all endorsed, and it's just really great. And I want to thank my colleagues around this table for recognizing the importance of all that in approving those amendments last week. We had a meeting with staff, as was discussed. Councillor Duguay and myself, and I want to thank Commissioner Nelson, Director Appleby, and our staff lead on this in planning, Caroline Kimball, for their expertise and the meaningful discussion that was had just around language for those amendments. The idea is that we have clarity and that we have common understanding, and it was really meaningful. And I think we had a meeting of the minds on so much of it. And so I brought forth the motion today with all of that to bring forward to you. And Councillor Duguay, I thank him as well for the time that was taken and his expertise as a planner that he brought to that discussion. So it's with that, I just wanted to bring forward L, M, N, and O. There are just a couple of things since our meeting on Wednesday that I just wanted to point out, and I'm happy to chat with Director Appleby and Ms. Kimball as well. The idea around the timing, and I'm speaking specifically to O. I don't know if it can be screened. Can the amendments be screened that I sent in? They're essentially the meat of them, the bulk of them, it's the same thing, except there was a timing. I just wanted to point out that for O, instead of...
Councillor Chica, I wonder if we could do them kind of one at a time.
Sure. Shall I read them out? But
yeah,
I don't know if they're screenable.
Just a little guidance here.
Sure.
I think the approach we're going to take is, for example, you move an amendment on L, we'll deal with that amendment.
Yeah.
Vote on that. Go to the next one, same process, and then we'll get to an amendment package for the final vote.
Okay, I'll go through the bulk of them, and then we'll go back. Thank you.
Yeah, so you're starting with, which one is your first amendment?
The L, and I'll begin.
You're moving it, and we got a seconder, Councillor Burke, I assume.
Well, okay, but I think that Councillor Duguay was
Councillor
with me on these things. Thank you.
That's fine. We got it straight down. Please proceed. And we just want to get them up on the screen.
Great.
So L is the first one. Is that correct?
Shall I begin reading, Your Worship?
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
Yep.
So L, that council direct staff to provide an information report to council outlining lessons learned and any recommended implementation changes to the bylaw, in part based on the evaluation of natural heritage features after 1 year of the CPP bylaw coming into effect.
You've moved it. Councillor Duguay seconded. Debate on the amendment on this first one.
Are we going to debate, or shall I read through them all?
We're going to do one at a time.
Okay.
You've moved it. Councillor Duguay seconded. I just want to make sure we don't miss anybody.
Yeah.
Count on this amendment.
If I could speak to
Sorry?
it first, if
Yeah,
that would
go
be
ahead.
okay.
Go ahead.
So the only just adjustment was just deleting environmental impact studies. And the reason is because keeping those words ties it into waiting until someone wants to develop in these natural areas. You know, after the EIS, whether and where it deserves environmental protection. It ties it to waiting perhaps too long for the development process. So it's just that, you know, what we can expedite, let's expedite. That's where that came from. That's the only adjustment. Thank you.
Councillor Duguay?
Thank you, Mayor Leal. I do thank you, Councillor Chico. I do acknowledge the meeting that was held Wednesday last. I also had opportunity to speak with Mr. Attridge Sunday evening for about 50 minutes. I then subsequently received Councillor Chica's proposed modified wording. So subsequent to the council meeting we had Wednesday last, and with respect to item L, I can't support the deletion of verified by environmental impact studies. Fundamentally cannot. I don't view that it is delaying the process. I view this as a very, very important measure. And it was, to my colleagues, this was the refined wording arising from the Wednesday meeting was agreed upon by all concerned. And the reference to delete the word verified by environmental impact studies, I can't agree that it would, if kept in, it would have the effect of delaying or retarding the advancement of the process. This is a critical component. It's a common practice throughout Ontario, and it's important that the words verified by environmental impact studies be included. Now, I believe the difficulty we're all going to have, I'm not sure if all of our colleagues have seen the wording from the Wednesday meeting of the portfolio co-chairs and senior staff. So we're working from the original motion found in our agenda package. There was a subsequent, some refined language that was, from my perspective, enhancing the spirit and intent of the recommendation. Wasn't detracting, was improving. And we received, this was received, I received this at 2:50, about 3 o'clock today, if I recall this correctly. So what you're seeing on Regulation L, the important language that's not included is verified by environmental impact studies, and that would follow the world for natural heritage features. And my recommendation to my colleagues, meaning no disrespect to Councillor Chica, that language has to be part of this motion. Absolutely has to be part of this. It doesn't delay the process. It reinforces the integrity of our official plan and the integrity of our community planning permit system. Those would be my comments on, and I'll speak to some of the other individual. Most I agree with, but this one I think we must keep. I would be insistent that we keep that language. Thank you.
Mr. Nelson, could we have your comment from staff, please? Mr. Appleby?
Through the chair,
Mr. Nelson?
I'll start and I'll defer to possibly Director Appleby or Manager Ms. Kimball if they have further to indicate. It is staff's position that the preference would be that it would be verified by an environmental impact study. Basically, the benefit of that is creating a standard and basically fulfilling a commitment that is a requirement under the OP. That's staff's position and understanding of a process that would be maintained then, and that ground truthing would be required and ultimately land in a position that is repeatable and defensible. But I'll defer to Director Appleby and or Ms. Kimball to.
Mr. Appleby, please.
Your Worship, I think I agree with everything Mr. Nelson has said. The EIS is sort of the standard to which we've embedded in the official plan for evaluating features. It allows sort of, the way it's structured in the CPP bylaw in general is to ensure that, a limit of development is established with scientific rigor before development moves forward. And that's what this would allow us to do.
Thank you very much. If I could.
Did Ms. Kimball want to reply too?
Through you, Mayor, I agree with both Commissioner Nelson and Director Appleby, and would suggest that it is the most defensible position for the city insofar as we could be impacting land rights by assigning an environmental protection precinct based on something other than an environmental impact study.
Thanks, Councilor Chica now. Sorry, I wanted to get our staff response.
Thank you very much, and with all due respect, again, speaking with environmental lawyers and folks in the green community, the point is that there are holes in the environmental impact assessment, environmental impact study process, and what the idea is that we want future landowners, developers, the public to have awareness that there are special areas, and there can in fact be a waiving of an environmental impact study for houses or even less than that. And that's the truth of the matter, that those things can be waived. But if the city is able to prescribe this, we're not, and we're mapping in alignment with the official plan and the level A areas. We are initiating a process that will protect sensitive areas, and we're not waiting too long. And it could be years, but it could be that those areas become unprotected over time. So because of the gaps in the environmental impact study process that can occur and could leave sensitive areas vulnerable, and because they can be waived, and they have been in certain circumstances for housing and for other reasons, it's not the safeguard we may think it would be for our sensitive areas. So that's my thoughts and my reflections, and in consultation with environmental specialists. Thank you.
Thanks very much. I'll just go back here. Councillor Dell, did you want to speak to the amendment? Nope. Okay. So, Councillor Hickey to the amendment.
Just for clarification, if I can.
Sure.
I don't have this amendment anywhere in my documentation, so I'm finding it a bit confusing. I don't have any paperwork at all. So I just want to confirm, and I think Councillor Duguay can answer my question. L as it sits is what you're suggesting. Is that correct? As it's up there.
Your worship, if I might, again, it would appear that my colleagues do not have the benefit of the refined language arising from the Wednesday meeting attended by Councillor Chico and myself, Mrs. Kimball, Mr. Appleby, and Mr. Nelson. It was a fulsome discussion, about an hour and 15 minutes in duration. And I left that meeting very satisfied that the language from the sections of the motions L through O, which I believe also included, may have included Councillor Burke's motion about biannually reporting. It was discussed. We agreed on improved, refined language. Now, having said that, we're in receipt now of a further refinement, which would recommend deleting the word verified by environmental impact studies. But my concern to that point, if we delete that, we leave our environmental features vulnerable. All we're saying is that this is a standard practice. It's a recognized practice in municipalities across Ontario. It is critical that it is the mechanism that planners will rely upon in order to ascertain whether or not a natural feature, as contemplated through our official plan map overlay, if it were to advance to a precinct, is something that is the mapping correct? Does it need to be refined? And you use environmental impact studies. I just wanted to verify that point.
Thank you, Councillor Duguay, and your worship, through you. to staff, and again, I want to be clear here. You're saying to Commissioner to Blair Nelson, you're saying leave the environmental impact study wording in the motion. Is that correct?
Mr. Nelson, please.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay, and one more question, if I can, just to be clear. So Councillor LaChica, you're suggesting, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, I'm trying to get an answer here. You're suggesting that we remove any reference to the environmental impact studies. Is that correct?
Thank you, if I may, through you, Your Worship. So, you know, I'm pleased with Elle, and I was pleased with our discussion. However, this was an enhancement in order to make sure there's no gaps for protected areas if there was a need to wait for a developer to do an environmental impact study. This would be the gold or the platinum standard of language, in my opinion, based on my understanding that there are some gaps in environmental impact studies. So this would be the platinum language, but you know, I don't want to lose this motion, and if it means not having the platinum language, I'm fine with the will of council if that's, you know, if that's where things rest for most people. You know, I again, this is so important, and this CPPS and environmental protections, it's paramount. It's second to none in terms of, you know, down the road. So platinum language, we know that there are gaps. We know they can be waived. So the idea was that we would be able to not have to wait for those studies to come along and perhaps jeopardize the protection that would be in certain corridors. So again, you know, if I'm wondering, Chair, if through you, Chair, if we voted on it and if it failed, could we land on this language?
So if I can, that's what I wanted to know. If I'm going to vote against the motion, but I'm going to vote for L. Okay. So I just needed clarity. Thank you.
Councillor Crowley, the amendment.
Thank you, Worship, and through you, I appreciate what Councillor LaChica is trying to accomplish here. I haven't seen the language either. I'm not sure I understand fully. Maybe through you, Chair, to Commissioner Nelson, are you able to define and quantify the difference between, I mean, it's a big question, but natural heritage features and environmental impact study? Would the city be able to quantify that in some way for a development?
Through the chair, I'm sort of making some assumptions here in terms of what you're specifically asking, but the purpose of the environmental impact study is to review a natural area to confirm what is its environmental features and what ground truths are put in place in order to protect those features and those areas if they are considered to be environmentally sensitive. So from that, again, basically the OP has in place basically environmental areas that are protected via an overlay within the OP that says if you're proposing to develop within these areas, you need to confirm it through an environmental impact study that would be submitted and it's ground truth by biologists and the various studies that make up that environmental impact study. For the purposes of confirming, does it have environmentally sensitive features, etc. And the intent then through the CPPS was to confirm that overlay was available through the CPPS and any of those natural areas were protected by employing that overlay through the OP. Obviously, any of the areas that had been already ground truth via environmental impact studies made up the environmental protection precinct.
Right.
So I'm going to defer to Director Appleby and Ms. Kimball just to confirm that there's nothing further there that I've missed and should be added.
If I may, Your Worship, and I apologize staff, if, I guess I'm just sort of unfamiliar with natural heritage features and how it compares with an environmental impact study. Like, what would the outcome be if we ended up going with what Councilor Lachika said was the platinum standard? What would that look like for?
So through the chair, basically staff's preference and in our opinion, our guidance through the OP is that in a natural or an environmental protection sensitive area needs to be studied through an environmental impact study to confirm that it is an environmentally sensitive area. We have put in place areas that have been considered to be, but expect that those would be proven in ground truth through an environmental impact study. So you do have natural areas. However, those natural areas to be truly protected and finally, I guess, put within the precincts, within the CPPS is what this is recommending, would be done.
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship.
So would be done through the completion of an environmental impact study to confirm in ground truth that it is an environmentally sensitive area. And that would be a requirement typically of any developer prior to being able to develop those lands and whether they need to respect the environmental sensitive areas. But again, I will defer to Director Appleby and or Ms. Kimball if there's anything further there that should be added.
Through your worship, again, I agree with what Mr. Nelson's saying. Councillor Crowley, I believe, asked the question kind of what is the difference between sort of the EIS approach versus, not necessarily having EIS. I think to understand that you kind of have to go back to how the mapping in the official plan was created. And there's a whole like technical appendix attached to the official plan that describes kind of how the natural heritage mapping was created. But really what it boils down to is if you don't do an environmental impact study with boots on the ground, and instead you use some alternative process, say, looking at air photos on your computer and trying to assign some type of natural feature significance based on that kind of information, then you could end up with features that are identified through that process that haven't been ground truth, and maybe they're not really as significant as what it might suggest through a desktop review exercise.
Thanks for that. So I guess I'm just looking for, I don't know if my question's getting answered, and I don't know if it's how I'm asking it. I'm sort of hoping that that we could quantify what natural heritage features means and how that is quantifiable within this CPPS. Really, I understand what an environmental impact study is and how it's important and how it's used. But this, I'm not really getting a definition of what that is. The natural, unless it's again.
Through the mayor to Councillor Crowley. Natural features can include many things. So it can include locally and provincially significant wetlands, woodlands. There are, a host of species that are at risk. So there are, it's habitat for those species, habitat for a various range of species. So there are various scientific boots on the ground types of studies that may be necessary in order to fulfill the requirements of an EIS. What's I think being proposed is that there would be an alternative evaluation method that does not require an EIS and that boots on the ground review of a property or an area. in order to assign an environmental precinct to it. And once that environmental precinct is assigned, there is no, it limits the development rights to that property. So the intent of the EIS is to evaluate those natural features, determine what they are, determine the size and the boundary of those, any protective zones that have to be incorporated. And then that ultimately is determines the developability of the property or the portion that's undevelopable based on protection. You're welcome.
Mayor Leo, thank you. And, you know, I'm definitely not going to try to pretend that I'm a planner and understand the sort of deep nuances of what we're talking about. But I will say that I support my council colleagues' motion, because to myself and to my constituents, these natural heritage features are important to us. They're very important to us. So I support any language that further places safeguards on these areas. And for that reason, I am supporting the motion. I did have a question of clarity, because at the beginning of this discussion, there was mention by a couple of speakers about some workshopping that happened after our Wednesday agenda was set on what we're talking about. Now, I'm assuming that that language was around Councillor LaChica's 4 amendments from last meeting and not around the basis of the CPP, right? So that meeting was around you guys looking at those amendments to just make sure the language was correct. Do I have that right?
Commissioner Nelson, please, can respond, and Mr. Appleby.
Through the chair, that is correct.
Perfect, thank you. So that makes a lot more sense to me. So I assume then that as Councillor LaChica moves through those amendments she made last week, that there might be some subtle language changes that are a result of her meeting with staff and the other portfolio chair, right?
I believe that's the plan we're going to
Okay,
go through.
sounds good, thank you.
Further comments on the amendment? Check with the clerk, just once. Councillor Duguay, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. We're going to be very quick. Maintaining the term verified by environmental impact studies in no way diminishes the significance of our natural features, and no way does it leave those vulnerable. In fact, it has the effect of ensuring they're properly studied. It says based on the evaluation of natural features, the recognized practice in the province of Ontario is environmental impact studies. How else are we going to evaluate them? Director Appleby's correct. If we were to simply rely upon our mapping is very interesting, quite robust, that of the conservation authorities, that is not the appropriate mechanism. I don't know where there would be a concern with keeping the words verified by environmental impact studies, how that could be construed as being detrimental to our natural features, if what it serves to do is to recognize their significance and their importance as part of the overall ecological composition of our city. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Any further comments to the amendment? Amendment? We'll go to a vote. That's correct. Mr. Clerk?
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, just to your question, the vote then is to vote what was on the screen before, which does not include the environmental impact assessment.
And that's defeated. Councillor Duguay, you have language on L.
Yes, Your Worship. The
You're
previous,
moving an amendment?
that would be correct. So it would be the wording, Your Worship, Mr. Clerk, that originally appeared on the screen, but it would include the language verified by environmental impact studies, and that would follow based on the evaluation of natural heritage features. The
Need
only
a seconder
difference
for
is
that?
we're just putting that, we're inserting verified by
Councillor
environmental impact
Duguay.
studies.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Duguay, it's been seconded by Councillor Chica. Mr. Clerk, do we have that up on the? Thanks, Natalie. But we ought to get voted on this first. Exactly. Yeah, okay, just.
That's Councillors Duguay and Parnell.
It's on the screen. Comments on this amendment? Councillor Crowley to this amendment.
Thank you through you, Chair. I don't know if it's on my screen incorrectly, but the M that I have doesn't, is it a completely rewritten amendment?
It's L.
Oh, we're dealing with L. Well, forgive me. Then
No.
I'll come back to that then because it's still not right.
Quite
Thank
all
you.
right. On this amendment, on L, Councillor Hakey, please.
Again, it's confusing to me because what I have written in front of me is different than what's up on the screen. So I just want to verify. We're leaving the environmental impact study in and adding natural heritage features to it. Is that correct?
Councillor
Whoever's-
Duguay,
Yes,
please give
Councillor
us an
Duguay.
explanation.
Thank you, Your Worship. The difference between the previous motion and that's being contemplated, the contemplated motion includes only the additional words verified by environmental impact studies.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further, Councillor Hakey? Any further comments or questions on the amendment? We'll go to a vote on this amendment. Oh, sorry, Councillor Chica. On this amendment.
Yes, this is a question through you, Your Worship, to Ms. Kimball. So 1 year passes and there are no developers that are planning to build or hoping to build on a potentially environmentally sensitive area. And that is going to continue. Like my issue is that there are endangered species, there are areas that are verified by the MNR, but they haven't been identified by us through mapping yet. And so the community doesn't know that they're formally important and natural heritage sites needing protection. And our concern is the vulnerability of endangered species and the sensitive areas, the woodlands, the waters, that all of that. So we're waiting forever and ever, and there's a potential for them not to be properly identified. And there's a potential for an EIS to be waived. Is that not true, Ms. Kimball? Thank you.
Ms. Kimball, please.
Sure. Through the mayor to Councillor Lucica, the there is ongoing work right now to verify the mapping associated with any provincially significant features. And so in speaking with our ecologists, our staff ecologists this afternoon, she did confirm that there is work underway to ensure that there's mapping being produced based on the boots on the ground and the information that she has received through the province to verify and enable us to map exactly the parameters of those features, and where they're not already identified as environmental protection, that would be an example of lands within the 1 year, at the 1 year mark that we would be incorporating into the EP precinct in the CPP bylaw. In addition to that, any, privately initiated EISs accompanying a CPP permit application would be vetted through the process, peer reviewed, and that mapping would be reflective. The mapping that comes forward after the year's time would be reflected in the amendments that we would be proposing at that point in time.
Thank you, Ms. Kimball. And just supplementary to Director Appleby, is it possible to waive an EIS?
Councillor Shiga, you'll take your second three now. Mr. Appleby, please.
Through your worship, in the official plan, I believe there is language that would allow it in very minor circumstances. I think that gets muddied a little bit in the CPP bylaw, because now CPP bylaw is essentially anchoring the need for an environmental impact study as a regulation to the bylaw. So I would actually suggest for sites within 120 meters of our natural heritage overlay, an environmental impact study is going to be required.
And just one more, if I can, to Director Appleby, supplemental. Where there are endangered species, areas that are identified with coordinates, like latitude and longitude, they're identified, but we haven't got them mapped for the CPPS. They're easy to do because maybe they're only 2 hectares. Does that mean that Jasmine would be able to go out, boots on the ground, as we're talking about, and do some GIS work for, whatever that takes, a day, and then out to do the field work in that small area, that could be done and that will be done, and that's the intent before the review? The easy areas. Thank you.
Mr. Appleby?
Through your worship, it is certainly the intent that, where we have the ability to access property, and if we have the resources to support, then certainly our planning ecologists could do field work and or oversee field work to map out features.
Thank you very much.
Any further comments on the amendment? Further comments? We'll go to a vote on this amendment. That is carried. Councillor Duguay, M, there's, as a result of your portfolio meeting, language on M, is that correct? Exactly, M?
So we're continuing now down through,
Yes,
continuing down through the motion?
Yeah, M is next.
Yes, M is next, and there are no changes.
Oh, okay, I thought there was this, okay. N, what's the next one, language changed? N?
N.
Councillor Chica, go ahead.
That council directs staff to prepare a supplementary voluntary green development standards document and checklist to be shared and strongly encouraged at the pre-consultation stage for community planning permit applications, and utilizing in conjunction with the above noted community improvement plan in order to incentivize best practices. The only extra words are strongly encouraged, and that would be because we have a climate action plan, and this is an accompanying document to the CPPS. We aren't formally asking for conditions. It's not within the bylaw itself, but it's just saying, here it is, here's the checklist, and this is what we're encouraging for those developers that would be interested in this.
Okay, so
thank you very
Duguay,
much.
You're seconding that? Councillor Duguay?
Yes, and if I may speak to it.
Oh, no, just 1 second here. Councillor Crowley's next on the amendment, and then yourself. Councillor Crowley on N for the amendment.
So I had a quick point of order. I have in front of me an M that is different from the M that's above it. And I don't know.
If I may,
It's got
for
going-
you. So this is the revised language that we had with staff in that meeting. Just to for clarity, so everyone concurs that was in that meeting.
Sure, and I appreciate that, absolutely. But if I may continue,
Yes.
while N has sort of amended wording in it, which is fine.
Yes.
M seems to be a completely different M from, I believe, what we had approved last week. The language is completely different. If M is, and this is part of my point of order,
Yes.
if M is completely different from what it was last week, should we not vote on the amended M? Unless I have something different on my screen than everyone else does?
Councillor Chicken? Because I asked.
If I may, through you, Your Worship. So there is a difference in language, and I think it should be screened because that's what staff and Commissioner and Kevin and myself agreed to in that meeting that provided the clarity needed. But it's true, it's not up there.
Mr. Clerk, have we got the revised language on M?
Thanks, Your Worship. We do have the revised language.
All of us are going by the blue sheets that we have.
Yeah.
I'm going by eScribe, what I see on the screen.
And just supplemental, that's what I read out, what's up there. And it just wasn't on the screen. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, please.
Thanks, Your Worship. If I might be able to provide some clarification, I think it was Councillor Duguay that referenced earlier. Subsequent to last Monday's meeting, there was a portfolio chairs meeting where staff then worked with the portfolio chairs to come up with potential language for recommendations L, M, N, O, and I believe P. Just okay. Oh, subsequent to that, as Councillor Chica had mentioned today, she had provided some further amendments or clarifications to our office for that. So we do have, as I understand it, Councillor Chica does not have any further amendments to M, which was discussed with the staff and the portfolio chairs. If it's the will of council, we can pause N and we can screen recommendation M, which would be amending the current language that is in the agenda package this evening, which references the voluntary green development standards.
I think that's what Councillor Crowley is interested in. So we better get M on the screen then. Councillor Duguay, please. Some of us are at a disadvantage here with.
Thank you, Your Worship. And to my colleagues, my apologies, thus that you had not received the refined language arising from the portfolio co-chairs meeting. I was not aware until now that you haven't received it. But having said that, I can advise that the refreshed language of subsection M to the main motion, there have been no changes from the meeting held Wednesday last. And you, colleagues, you may recall Councillor Chica at our meeting Monday last, General Committee recommended that we have a portfolio chair meeting just to consider some these particular subsections. So we set out to do that. Again, Your Worship, I apologize that.
But Councillor Duguay, M is exactly the same?
It's the same.
There's no changes.
It's the same, but I wanted to emphasize that there was a meeting held. We agreed we'd have the meeting, but regulation M, excuse me, subsection M, to Councillor Crowley's point, does read differently than the original motion, but the language that's being recommended this evening is supported by your commissioner and your two senior planners, as well as Councillor Chica and I. So the language there, I'm comfortable with this language as written. We were directed to meet, we did. This is the refined language. It's not contrary to the main motion. It simply places it in a better language context. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, can you help us get an explanation here?
Mr. Chair, I may defer to Director Appleby, but I believe recommendations M and N were essentially from last week were essentially flipped, but I'll defer to the councillor or the director.
Mr. Appleby, please.
Your worship, that's correct. So last week, M was dealing with voluntary green development standards.
That's
and then
correct. Yes.
N was dealing with community improvement plan.
Yes.
And so at the portfolio chairs meeting, those were flipped. And so now M in the amended wording is dealing with the community improvement plan. And then when we get to N, it will deal with green development standards.
Okay. So, Mr. Clerk, we're still doing with the amendment to N, right?
Thanks, Your Worship. We're just as indicated, we're on recommendation M,
M.
which is again, it's an amendment that would then amend M, which is in your package currently here.
And that's been moved and seconded. Further debate on this amendment to M. Councillor Burke, amendment to M.
Yeah, just speaking to the confusion of the process, should we not vote on M and N together? Because if I'm understanding things correctly, we've switched M and N from the top from what we're looking at. So if we approve M and not, if we approve the new M and not the new N, then we could potentially have some redundant language in the main motion. Yeah, I'm right on top of this. Don't worry. Thank you.
No. The clerk tells me we can't put two up at once, so we're dealing with M. Councillor Hickey to M.
Thank you very much, Your
Amendment
Worship.
to M.
I just want to be clear where my thinking is on this. I have no problem, and I don't think anything's been done other than we missed some notes. I don't think there was anything intentional.
No,
Nothing. So that's, I just needed to clarify it for myself. I trust everybody in this process.
Yep.
It's just, it wasn't matching. And as Councillor Baldwin would know, being a teacher, it goes MN, not N, not MN, NM. So that's why I was confused. So I just wanted to be clear.
It's somewhat challenging when you're in the chair trying to get this all sorted out, right? So we're dealing with an amended M.
Yes.
Are there any more comments on the amended M? No, we'll go to a vote on that. And that's carried. Mr. Clerk, where are we now in terms?
Your Worship, we have amendment to paragraph N.
Now an end. The amendment to N.
Thank you through you, Your Worship. I did read it already once, so I don't know that I need to read it again. The only platinum expression that's there is to strongly encourage at the pre-consultation stage. It's a great piece to be able to do that, to share this supplementary document at the pre-consultation stage. But why not say, we strongly encourage this. If this kind of development is something that you would choose, it aligns with our Climate Action Plan 2.0. Not to do a sales job, but just to say that we're incentivizing this. This is something that we're doing for the future, for sustainability in our city. Thank you.
Councillor Digga, you're seconding this?
Yes, unless somebody else is to speak to it. I have considered the modest additional wording, and I have no issues with same.
Thank you. Any further questions, any further comments on this one? We'll go to a vote. And that's carried. There's change of language in O, I do believe.
Yes, and I thank you through you, Your Worship. I just wanted to state that it really was just a timing issue, and we sort of toyed about how long would be realistic. But then there was a realization because we're working on things toward the review, that it would need to be Q2 2027 in order to make it to the review, as opposed to Q3. And I think it was just an oversight. And of course, this is making the best effort to, that was the idea in our discussion, to achieve this. But that was the adjustment. And again, you know, you have to sleep on these things, and there's been a lot going on, and it's very dense. And it, you know, it came to me that, you know, Q2 would make it to the review, whereas Q3 wouldn't. So it just seemed logical to me, and I'm hoping that Councillor Duguay can support that. Thank you. As second.
Councillor Duguay and Mr. Nelson for staff feedback.
I will second it, yes. I'll wait to hear Mr. Nelson's comments that I'd like to speak
Mr.
to.
Nelson, please. On O.
Through the chair, staff doesn't, we believe we can meet the Q2. We do have some concerns and would seek some, we do have some concerns with the community consultation on the strategy, because it's developing a standard operating procedure that would be a different standard under which staff typically do not do public consultation for an operating procedure. You know, we are consulting as part of policy that we're currently looking at here tonight, but from that perspective, staff do have a concern that we've got to enter into community consultation as it relates to a standard operating procedure. So, but I will defer to Director Appleby or Ms. Kimball if they have anything further related to that.
Mr. Appleby, then Ms. Kimball. Mr. Appleby?
Your worship, I don't think you really have anything to add.
Ms. Kimball?
Your worship, I'm the same. I concur with Mr. Nelson.
Mr. Nelson, would this be a budget item for 2027?
Through the chair, it would take additional staff time and resources, and I think with the consultation component, if it was required, it would make it that much more difficult to meet Q2.
Would there be a need to bring in an outside consultant to handle this just because of stress on in-house staff resources?
Through the chair, I think in order to complete the community consultation related, most likely yes. So therefore it would require some budgetary implications. But I will defer to Director Appleby or Ms. Kimball if they have a variance in opinion, but.
Ms. Kimball, please. Mr. Appleby, either one.
Your worship, I think I agree with Mr. Nelson. The community consultation piece might have a budget implication.
Okay. Yes, Councillor.
Thank you. Through you, your worship. Thank you. I just, community consultation can take different forms. I mean, the whole CPP process has been a scaffolded process that has involved, you know, us as the governing body, the public groups, you know, and this, it will have its year of being launched. And certainly you would think that the same stakeholders that have been involved in the creation of this CPPS might also have a word in terms of, you know, identified areas. It could be just a survey that's put on, you know, Connect Peterborough. It could be as simple as that. But just a nod to the public, because the public are stakeholders and users and stewards of our natural heritage. And certainly if we're developing a standard operating procedure that is going to be accompanying an active part of our CPPS, you know, let's keep it low on budget so that it isn't anything more than just something that goes onto the website. That's what I would suggest. And if we could keep that, again, this would be the platinum approach. Thank you.
Any further comments? Councillor Duguay, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. If I can, I'd start off the question to CAO Reyna, and then I would like to provide some commentary. CO Reyna, is it a common practice of our municipality to have community consultation when developing standard operating procedures?
Through you,
Mr. Reda,
Mr.
please.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. No, the standard operating procedures are totally in-house departmental procedures. There's no community engagement. It's only for the policy development. We engage the community and other municipalities. SOPs are totally in-house departmental procedures. Thank you.
Your worship, with that in mind, I cannot support the language that the additional language with community consultation, and then it carries a strategy and standard that standard operating procedures are the manner in which, for example, we might maintain sidewalks while we plow our streets. We do engage the public. We do talk to the public about asset management, various maintenance programs, or safe streets, but it's not necessary, and it would be uncustomary to have community consultation. Moreover, it's not defined what this would mean. Moreover, we're already hearing from staff it would be additional workload and additional cost. The CPPS to date, including the official plan that was, both have been subject to rigorous community consultation involvement, and I don't imagine the community interest will diminish as a consequence of not including a consultation to establish the standard order, a SOP. With respect to the Q27, I have no issues with that. I had opportunity to further speak to staff. I spent the bulk of my fair amount of time on this motion, well, at least upon its receipt. So I would not be prepared to support with community consultation a strategy and the word and. But I do support the timing of a Q2 2027. I also had opportunity today, Your Worship, to speak with Commissioner Nelson about the language about including those readily identified. It's a difficult term to understand, but I believe I understand the intent. And it may have been those that perhaps in the first subsection L, where it was referenced by a previous delegate about low-lying fruit, where we might be able to look at maps and make a decision. Those examples might exist, but I would suggest to my colleagues they're quite limited. And there is a danger of just simply saying we look at a map and we make a decision around environment, our natural features. That's not a regular practice. But I'm comfortable with that language staying. I'm comfortable with word Q227 in terms of timing, but I'm not comfortable and would not support the language with community consultation, a strategy, and. I think those words are unnecessary and would represent an encumbrance and a cost to the process. Thank you.
On the amendment, I have Councillor Hickey, LaChica, and Burke.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'm going back. My O is completely different.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, either Councillor LaChica or Councillor Dugay, the O that I have is that staff expedited field verification, mapping, monitoring, designation process for updating the most important natural areas. Is that going to show up anywhere I'll address it to Councillor LaChica first, and then
that's what I have.
Is that going to show up anywhere in this process?
So this is the bold is my extra additions since the meeting. And with all due respect, I'm just advocating for what I need to advocate for.
So I just want to make sure O's not the new P that's going to come out
later
on or something, because we're going around the alphabet.
So just so I'm not confused, this is the language that came out of your consensus meeting last Wednesday?
Except for what's in bold.
Except for what's in bold.
And I'm willing to take away, just to save us time and thought and analysis, to take away the community consultation piece out of respect for what staff is saying around standard operating procedure. I was going to say that when I was speaking.
Okay, thank
Hickey,
you.
Please.
Yes, one other question then, and it's to do with O that we're removing. I have a question on how do we evaluate unevaluated wetlands currently, and will that change in this process? And I don't know if that's to Commissioner Nelson, Appleby.
Let's go with Mr. Appleby. Mr. Appleby, please.
Through your worship, there's a process that's established through the province. It was recently updated last year on how you evaluate wetlands. So you need a qualified professional, boots on the ground, partner that with available information that they can glean from other sources. But the real key is the boots on the ground and mapping out those features.
Thank you. So that explains why the wording changed, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
So Councillor Chica, so I understand, everybody understands. So you're prepared to withdraw the language that's been highlighted there?
Just the community consultation piece that Councillor Duguay said he was uncomfortable with. For the sake of saving the bulk of it, I'm willing to do that. And I trust and I know about our staff that there is always an open door or an open phone line if there is process things along the way. I know those conversations can happen. Can I, if I may, through you, Your Worship, to Director Appleby, if there was a question or a need around this, would it be okay for a leader in the public or an organization to contact you around this?
Mr. Appleby, please.
Through your worship, we're always happy to speak with members of the public on sort of what we're doing and how we're doing it.
Thank you very much. It's appreciated.
Councillor Duguay, I got to go back to you because are you comfortable seconding that with that highlighted language being pulled out now?
Your worship, to
So community consultation gets pulled.
and I think we all should be removing a strategy and in its, so we would read that council directs staff to develop a standard operating procedure. I'm recommending we should also remove the word strategy and.
Suffice, Councillor Chica?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Further comments on the amendment with the withdrawn highlighted language pulled out? There we go. We're getting it. Natalie, can we get, can we get that corrected? So, okay, we'll just have a bit of patience here. We'll get it done. Okay, I guess we can go to a vote. Thank you very much, Natalie. That's carried. Does P change?
If I may, through you, Your Worship. If it could be, it wasn't my motion, it was actually Councillor Burke's motion. And so if the language that's in the agenda from last week's General Committee, it's all the same except there was one word, I believe, if I may, through you to Ms. Kimball, one word that was taken away, I believe.
Are we talking about P now?
P.
P.
I think I changed on the floor from quarterly to biannually. That's the only change I'm aware of.
Through the mayor to Councillor Chica, I think P was determined to be redundant, but certainly if we want to have another look at it, I'd have to pull it up.
I do recall, Councillor Burke, you put in the biannual, is that right? Public reports? Mr. Clerk, please. So P is redundant now? All of P?
Sorry, I apologize. There was a redundant sentence in one of the other ones I was recalling. No, P is as was written.
So there's no changes on
no
P?
changes on P.
Okay. And Ms. Kimball, you said which one is there some need to change some additional language?
Sorry, through you, Mayor, there was some redundancy in, I think it may have been at the tail end of O, which has been removed in the wording. So I think we're good.
Okay, so we're in good shape now. So now we'll get back to the main motion as amended. Councillor Hickey, please, are you moving it? The main motion is amended? And a seconder, Councillor Burke. Okay, let's start the discussion. Councillor Hickey, gotcha, Councillor Burke.
Thank you very much. So overall, I'm not sure if Director Appleby has Mr. Davenport's report in front of him. If not, can you get a copy? Because I want to refer to some sections in here. I have some questions. Do you have it? Okay. Thanks, Brad. So 5, does the new CPPS process give council the opportunity to look at mixed commercial and make some changes where we're not adding requirement for residential necessarily on a second floor? And the reason that I'm asking that question, I think all of us got a letter from a developer on the north side of Lansdowne Street. You know the spot, I think, Brad, that he's talking about. Can you help me out there?
Mr. Appleby, please.
Through your worship, the CPP bylaw does not force or require the mixing of uses. It does not force the residential above the commercial.
Perfect. Thank you. That's question 1. Through you, your worship, paragraph 8 or item 8, Mr. Davenport said PATH will automatically have residential zoning approval so they can finalize their site plan. That is a concern. Can you tell me if that is the case or not?
Mr. Appleby, please.
Through your worship, although they would have a precinct apply to that property, they would not have permission to develop right away. They would need to do a land use compatibility study to demonstrate that it is actually can be made compatible before receiving a development permit. And because you're going through the process of doing a land use study, it would have to come to council for a class 3 approval.
Continue.
Thank you very much, your worship. So to be clear, if they did the study and the study said that it is compatible, council at that time would have the option of saying no.
Mr. Appleby, please.
If they wanted to.
Through your worship, that is correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Just to go back to the original speakers list we had when we started this discussion, I have Councillor Chica Rial and then Councillor Burke. So we're going back to the speakers list, the original motion. Councillor Chica, the floor is yours.
For you, your worship, I don't think I had my hand up.
Oh, you did originally.
Did I originally?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't want to miss anybody.
Thank you.
So you're
if something comes into my head, I'll raise my hand again. And it probably will.
Councillor Rial then.
Through his worship.
I just beg a little patience here. It's been quite a list.
Tonight marks an important milestone for Peterborough. I want to acknowledge that the work of our staff, consultants, residents, and council to bring us to this point. I support growth. Our city needs more housing, investment, and jobs, but growth must be responsible. Success isn't only measured by how quickly we approve development, but by the quality of the community we build. As we move forward, environmental stewardship must remain a priority. We need to protect our natural heritage, preserve mature trees where possible, safeguard our waterways, ensure new development is designed to better manage stormwater, and the public confidence grows when council listens, remains open to improvements, and is willing to adjust when experience tells us we should. That's why I would encourage a report back, like we have biannually, be implemented. We should evaluate how CPPS is working, its environmental impacts, and whether refinements are needed. Good planning is never a one-time decision. It should evolve. In the end, economic growth and environmental responsibility go hand in hand. If we strike the balance, we leave future generations of Peterborough that is prosperous, sustainable, and a city that we can be proud of. The decisions we make tonight will shape Peterborough for decades. Let's ensure that the decisions, they're decisions that future generations will thank us for what we did tonight. Thank you very much.
Councillor Burke, please. And then Councillor Duguay.
Mayor Leo, thank you very much. And through you, as a counselor, I feel like I've left everything on the floor that I've had to say about this. I've had some strong opinions. I've also had numerous questions and concerns that I had as a sort of layperson going through this process, really resolved by communication with our own staff, and I appreciate that. And I was also at a committee of adjustment meeting this week, which really I won't get into the details of, but it really sort of opened my eyes as to how the CPP can work for the betterment of our community. And so all of that being said, I just wanted to take the time to acknowledge all of our staff's hard work on this. This is probably like a once in a career type moment to do this type of work for how long that it's been and the effort and energy that's gone into it. So I just wanted to thank you all for seeing this through. Thanks.
Councillor Duguay, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I will start off by first acknowledging the many community residents, stakeholder agencies, and others and those who have served on the working committees, attended workshops, open houses throughout this process. In my professional life, I'm privy to many comprehensive changes to municipal planning instruments, official plan and zoning bylaws. I think we ought to celebrate and recognize the process that was implemented in our city. It's been extraordinary. I've not seen a process that's been this involved with the community to date. And I say we can take our process and stack it up against all other cities in Ontario. Council, our role is to approve the end product. We participated in many workshops, events, but the lion's share of the work was carried out by our staff and our consultant team, and they are to be congratulated for that endeavor. Your Worship, the CPPS colleague serves to replace a zoning bylaw written in 1972, nearly 900 pages, which I think as a former city planner, I was responsible for about 400 of those pages. But those are the tools we worked with at the time. Councillor Burke, you just referenced a very important outcome arising from the CPPS, not to diminish the role that the Committee of Adjustment has played in terms of minor variances, but our process will eliminate that decision-making function and have it rest within the process with staff. And I can advise my colleagues, I'm aware of 4 small building projects that would normally require a minor variance. And with the new system, and there's also implicit within some of our precincts, some relaxation, some realization that our zoning standards are out of date. Those 4 projects can go directly to a building permit. We have saved them thus thousands of dollars in time. And it doesn't diminish the integrity of the end result, it's protected. I am fully satisfied that our CPPS, firstly, is consistent with the provincial planning statement of 2024. That's paramount. It has to be. Number 2, that's number 1. Number 2, thank you for that, Councillor Crowley. Number 2, it must be in conformity with our city's official plan. So we have policies that need regulations, hence the CPPS. We took the bold decision to apply it citywide. We could have been stuck with CPPS for our strategic growth areas and a zoning bylaw for the rest. Man, that would have been confusing and inefficient. We made the right decision by going citywide. And moreover, this is a product, Your Worship, that it is a forward-thinking product. It has to be. But it's not a product, to Councillor Riel's point, that simply rushes out to make an expedited decision. It improves on the process and attempts to eliminate elements of the planning and development approval process that might cause delay or undue hardship to development. And the development might be affordable housing. It might be a place of worship. It might be an institution, whatever it may be. It's not just strictly housing. So that in mind, Your Worship, I am wholeheartedly in support of this motion as written, and I look forward to the CPPS being implemented. Thank you.
Councillor Chica, please.
Thank you. I'll be brief. And I'm recalling what I was thinking about initially. Commitment to this process has been huge. And particularly, and we've mentioned the commitment of staff, the Commissioner Nelson, Director Appleby, Carolyn Kimball. I do want to say there have been so many opportunities that you've provided to councillors because of the density of this process and all of the levels to it. You've provided many opportunities for us to ask questions and to review, to ask again. We've met in small groups, we've met in larger groups, and I have to say that just as feedback that was truly helpful for everyone, and because of busy schedules and everything else. So thank you for that, because this is such an important and long-lasting document. Thank you. Also, the commitment of the public and the public presence in this, and I see a couple of individuals at the back of the room that have been here for every meeting that's discussed community planning, permit, and climate action, and all of the things that we advocate for together as a council, and that we've spoken about since the beginning. Thank you for the public presence, for the Indigenous consultation that our staff have engaged in, and how important those voices and the leadership from Indigenous First Nations communities in this process. That is paramount, and we're appreciative of those leaders. We're doing everything we can, and this is the last point I want to make, in the midst of changing legislation. It's been a time these last couple of years. There's been so much changing legislation, and we've had to wade through that and swim through that and try and achieve something that will lead us to a future and a future of growth in our city. So thank you one and all, and to my colleagues around the table for all of the analysis that has gone into this. Thank you very much, Your Worship.
Councillor Hickey, please. Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'll be short too. To Councillor Duguay, I don't know if I'd ever own up to being responsible for 400 pages of a 700-page report, but good for you. To Director Appleby and his group, I'll tell you, they met with me at every opportunity. Brad, I'm sure you cut your hair short so you didn't pull out what was left over the last 2 years, because it has been tough. Carolyn still has a full head of hair, so she diverted everything to Brad, I'm sure. I've spoken, as you know, I deal in the development community, and is it going to solve all the issues? Mr. Davenport will probably disagree. I don't think it'll solve everything, but it sure streamlines it and takes what I call the rough edges out. People can look and say, I can build here, here's what I can build generally. I think it's a good document. And I compliment staff for the patience that they've had, not with the public, but with councillors, because I know you're inundated with the calls, and you answered them all. And Councillor Chika I couldn't have said it better. I mean, the public wonders what we do. I'll tell you, doing that, the public, hopefully they have a clear understanding of the work that's involved in running the city and organizing the city. And to all the staff, and I mean it, everybody, you just made us look good. Now, having said that, remember, when something goes wrong, you're the first people that we're going to call. So anyways, thank you, Your Worship, for hearing me out on that.
I just would like to conclude that the community planning process is an incredible initiative, replacing something that has been in place for 54 years. And history will judge this council that we took the right action at the right time. Something that I'm often fond of saying is that a community can never have a deficit of ambition. And the community permitting system is very ambitious. And it also concludes that by putting this in place, we can guarantee that tomorrow will be better today. So we'll go to a vote. Sorry, as amended. It's carried.
9M, I forgot now who wanted out. Councillor Hickey, 9M was yours, maybe? Sorry, Councillor Burke, I apologize.
Mayor Leo, yes, thank you. This is the unedited financial report that includes the
So you're moving it? We need to get a seconder to start discussion?
oh, sure, I'll move it.
Okay,
Why not?
seconder, Councillor Hickey, floor is yours, Councillor Burke.
Thank you. So we're dealing with this, where is it? Yeah, a financial report that includes some money that we got back from the police, almost $1 million. So my question to you, through you, Mayor Leo, to Commissioner Freeman, and I'm sorry that I'm asking you this on the fly. How much did we give the police last budget? Ballpark?
Freeman, please.
Your worship, in the order of magnitude of about 41 million-ish.
Yeah, and so Mayor Leo, this is my point, is that we have dealt with pressures that the police are facing and supported them through our tax dollars to the amount of, I think I just heard, over $40 million. And what happened this year is that of the money that we gave them, they found that there was a credit, a surplus of almost $1 million. Now, my deferral that I moved last week was not getting into any back and forth about what the police need or don't need, because that's not in the report. It is simply a deferral to ask that council be presented with some options as to what council can decide to do with that money. That's what I was asking for. And, you know, I heard the arguments about the necessity of the radios and other things that the police need. And it's of my opinion that those needs from the police are best dealt with during budget time. You know, if they need additional supports and things, they can put it in their budget, and maybe part of that can include them finding efficiencies to cover what they need. So I'd like to move the deferral again. And you know, this whole thing, to use an analogy, it's a little bit like I walk into the corner store to buy a can of Coke with $1, and the clerk says, well, this Coke's on sale, it's 50 cents. But I'm going to keep the 50 cents because, you know, I got this and that I need to fix. That doesn't happen that way. I'm not arguing the nuances of what the police need or what they don't need. What I'm asking for is a deferral so that council can hear what our options are.
I just needed a seconder for the deferral. Thank you, Councillor. Proceed to.
Yeah, just a deferral so that council can understand what our options are to do with that type of surplus. That's what I'm asking for. And you know, maybe that report will be will sort of validate the request by the Police Services Board compared to, and maybe we will vote in favor of that compared to some of the other options that we can do with that money. But to me as a councillor, the police's needs, and they've needed these radios for a long time, a very long time. And the police's needs are, to me, best addressed when the police come to us with their budget. Thank you.
Councillor Burke, just for clarity, you're dealing with deferral just on item I, the police portion of the financial report. Would that be correct, sir?
Mayor Leo, I submitted the deferral last general committee. It's the same deferral. So it's that recommendation B.
26,000, right?
BI1 and BI2 respecting the allocation of the 2025 police services credit adjustment funds be deferred.
Thanks. I just wanted to get it clear. I appreciate that. Councillor Baldwin to the deferral, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, council received a letter from council, from the board rather, quite some time ago explaining the rationale. Commissioner Freeman has verified that, so I would suggest that we respectfully put the question.
Question.
Can't put the question after you give your speech. It's part of our procedure.
Mr. Clerk, just double check here. I want to make sure we're in. Mr. Clerk.
Your worship.
Mr. Chairman, I don't believe I was making a speech. as part of my
You just
me asking the clerk.
to move the vote.
Correct. I can do a speech if you'd like, but that wasn't it.
Mr. Clerk, just to confirm that.
Thanks, Your Worship. If I just may back up one step and just clarify the wording of the deferral, just to get that on the record here from my colleague. It's moved by Councillors Burke and LaChica
Correct.
that recommendations B, I, 1 and 2 be deferred for further report back from staff on options.
That's my understanding.
Point
Mr.
of order.
Councilor Burke, just to confirm, that's what your intent is?
Yeah, I just don't have my phone in front of me. I submitted it, the actual language last week, and it's the same. It hasn't changed. It should be in our e-scribe.
And Councillor Baldwin's moved to put the question.
Okay, may I ask for a point of order?
Yes.
This is just a procedural thing. As the seconder, would I not have had an opportunity to speak when the motion was put forward?
Mr. Clerk?
Thanks, Your Worship. It's typically just the matter of the speakers in the order that they appear on, that they speak, and then any member at that time can.
I'm
move
Robert's
deferral.
rules, sorry.
Going to the vote. Councillor Baldwin, would you have a seconder for that? Councillor Duguay, okay. Let the question be put. And that's carried. We'll now move to the question.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'm just going to look that up here.
It's already been moved. I think. But the main motion, Mr. Clerk, was moved 9M. Okay, so we can go to the votes. We're now voting on the deferral which was put. We're just voting on your deferral motion right now, Councillor Burke.
Thanks, Your Worship. The wording from last week was that items BI1 and BI2 be deferred. My colleague's loading that now.
Mr. Clerk's already been moved.
Yeah, yes, Your Worship. The main motion's been moved by Councillors Burke and Hagy.
Comments or questions? We'll go to a vote. That's carried. 9P, was that yours? Oh, no, Councillor Beamer. Sorry, I apologize.
Thank you, Mayor Lil. Mayor Lil, just speaking on the tower concurrence at Marina Boulevard, some of us will remember Councillor Riel, Parnell, and I. And
We just got to get a mover and seconder to get it on the table. Councillor Crowley's moving it. Councillor Purnell. Go ahead, Councillor Beamer.
thank you. Some of us will remember the 2010-2014 council where we debated cell towers for 5-6 hours. Those were the good old days where we had unlimited delegations, and sometimes we had 4 or 5 hours of delegations. Not only that, I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but we had people from outside of Peterborough coming in from really all over Ontario speaking on these cell towers, and some of us remember those 4, 5, 6 hour debates. So we don't have those anymore. Mayor Lil, the residents do have concerns. Councillor Hakey and I have met the residents on Marina and Glendale, and they have legitimate concerns. They don't want it in their backyard. As I mentioned tonight, in fairness to my colleagues in council, this report is not voting yes or no to the cell tower. This report is not voting yes or no to the location. I think I'll read it out as I did. One of the main recommendations, really the whole report, is providing correspondence to the federal government around the concerns of the residents. There's 15 pages in this report of emails and correspondence from residents about their concerns, and we're passing those emails, that correspondence, and their legitimate concerns to the federal government. So I know we had 2 speakers here tonight. I just want to let them know that is exactly what council is voting on, is providing their concerns, the opposition emails to the federal government. I did oppose it last week, Mayor Leal, just more just showing the neighbors that I heard them, and that's why I'm opposing it, because I think you could see this as a report that's moving the ball forward. I'm against the location. Councillor and Hakey and I are trying our best to represent the neighborhood. We do not support the cell tower there, but this report is taking their concerns and passing it on to the federal government. Thank you, Mayor Leal.
Further comments? Councillor Lucica?
Thank you very much. Through you, Your Worship, just to comment, we've had another cell tower in this term come up, and I have the same reflections as Councillor Beamer and Hakey. You know, we wouldn't like it right next door to us in our backyards because of the uncertainty. And I've spoken to this before. I think that a no vote to this really at least exemplifies a desire to have the federal government look at an alternate site. That if we connect the dots, that's what this is really doing. We're saying, yes, this tower is needed, and the federal government is saying so. But unless we, as a municipality, and to the presenter's point, you know, why is it coming to us unless we have some influence over this? And I think the influence we can have is to say, we say no right now to this location, and we would like the feds to look for an alternate site that isn't impacting children, schools, those with vulnerabilities, and the public that are so close residentially to where this tower would be situated. So that's my rationale for voting no, and thank you to the Northcrest councillors for supporting the public. Thank you.
Councillor Burke, please.
Mayor Leo, thank you. Through you to Commissioner Nelson. Is this part of the process that a municipality has to approve these communications before they go to the ISED? And will the ISED be notified that if it was voted down that the council didn't support sending these to them?
Through the chair, yes, my understanding is part of the reasoning here is the fact that they're looking at a location to try and improve their cell coverage, and this is an area where they need additional, basically boosting of their signals in that area. So the challenge being is that the procedure from the municipal side is that if it falls within a certain range from residential properties, that the proponent must go through this higher level of public consultation. And that's basically what the procedure is dictating, and what's in place is that the municipality confirms that that proponent has went through that higher level of consultation. So that's basically what this report is citing. In response to your comment, I think if it was voted down, then yes, that would be information that would be passed on to the proponent, that they would then be required to pass on to basically the governing body, which is the federal component.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in my mind, if we voted this down, maybe the proponents would consider doing deeper consultation and then come back to council. I don't know. In this consultation that happens, you know, it feels like from what we've heard from residents that it wasn't supported. Is the consultation just a check mark on their box, or are they actually listening and readjusting their plans based on what they're hearing?
Through the chair, there is the possibility that, again, council could direct staff to tell them that this is not a favorable location. However, that being said, the proponent would most likely step back and look at the next available private property within the general vicinity, and there basically would be no oversight from that perspective.
Okay, thank you. I think that personally, I know this isn't in my ward, but I think personally, although I've heard that by approving this for information, the ISED will receive those pages of communication, but I believe, and this may be the wrong choice, but I believe that by not supporting this report, I think that that's the decision I'm going to make that I feel is best suited to respond to the neighborhood that we've heard from. And so that's where I'm going to go. And I would, if there would be a motion on the floor to add what Commissioner Nelson said, that, you know, to add a C, that council, you know, is not in support of this being a suitable location, I would support that. Thank you.
Councillor Crowley, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just wondering, because I don't believe that our procedural bylaw allows us to make an amendment at this point. So I'm wondering if it wouldn't be a bad idea to separate these out, vote against the first one, and then the second B, which says that we're actually sending the questions and concerns to the ISED. That might be one thing that we could do. Vote down A, support B. Would that be appropriate?
Mr. Clerk?
Thanks, Your Worship. It's certainly within council's purview if they wish to not to support a recommendation. I would perhaps just defer to staff, though, if that were the case, and if recommendation B were to move forward, just the implications of that.
Mr. Nelson, please.
Through the chair, I'm just reconfirming I don't know if through the chair, I'm not certain that it makes a significant amount of difference if you vote A down or not, because A is basically just confirming that the proponent has followed the process. And B basically, because again, this comes back to the whole premise that municipal council government doesn't basically oversee the legislation related to towers.
Through you, Chair, then, instead of separating them out, could we, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules so that we could add an amendment, that we could add a C, using the language that Commissioner Nelson suggested. I don't remember what it is, but maybe you can let us know what it
Councillor
is.
Crowley, then you're moving that we suspend the rules. We need a seconder for that.
Sure.
Councillor Burke. Anything further on the suspension of the rules? We'll go to a vote on that.
Yeah.
Councillor Crowley's moved, second by Councillor Burke, that we suspend the rules.
Just
Yes, Mr. Clerk.
thanks, Your Worship. Just for the record, it's moved by Councillor Crowley and seconded by Councillor Burke that the
Rules
rules of procedure be suspended to permit an amendment
That is correct.
to that. Yeah.
Councillor Baldwin on this.
Yeah, your worship, but just a question of clarification, rather than suspending the rules to add a part C, could part C not be added under other business to make it cleaner?
Clerk?
Just a question.
Thanks, Your Worship. Certainly there is the ability for council to pass a motion under their business. That would be a 2/3 motion. And similarly, if council were to suspend the rules for any procedural matter, it's a 2/3 vote.
Councillor Crowley, would that be acceptable to you? Councillor Crowley?
Through you, Chair, can I allow Councillor Baldwin to explain his rationale to go a little?
Councillor Baldwin, to
further?
explain your rationale.
Yeah, my rationale, Mr. Chair, is we don't need to suspend the rules. If Councillor Crowley would like to bring this under other business, it would also allow the councillor to perhaps suggest that we write a formal letter to that organization, the CRTC, with our concerns, et cetera, et cetera. I think it would have more impact rather than just a motion that we passed tonight. If there's something specific directed that way, with a letter from council endorsed by council, I think that would have a stronger message. So that would be my
And perhaps a letter to MP Harrison too, because this is her bailiwick.
Absolutely, your worship. That I'd take under our advisement.
Okay, I'll get back to Councillor Crowley.
I agree with that.
Councillor Burke.
Yeah, I mean, my comment on the suspension of the rules versus the other business, and I would gladly defer to whatever the ward councillors want to do on this, to be honest, but that there's the two scenarios being presented. One is to suspend the rules to allow us to add a C with whatever that could look like. Are us council saying that we don't believe this is a suitable location and that be provided in writing to the MP or whoever? But there is a big difference, because to suspend the rules takes 2/3, and then once that happens, then the amendment would be a simple majority. Whereas in other business, that amendment, the motion would need a 2/3 majority. So that's the difference, but yeah.
Councillor Crowley.
I'm wavering, Your Worship. I think that maybe what we'll do is, maybe we'll wait until other business.
Okay.
I'll remove my motion.
Okay, Councillor Beamer.
Thank you, Mayor Lill. Other business it is, I'll support the C. The only comment I'd make is Councillor Hickey, have had these conversations over the past 18 months. Can we move it? It needs to be somewhere in that area for cell coverage. So if you move it in one direction, you're in the Royal Olympus, Edmonton, Algonquin, Millburn residential area. If you move it in another direction, you're in the Oriole, Gleamount, Hatfield, Langton residential neighborhood. And if you move it the other way, you're in the Hilliard, Bernardo, McClellan, Elmdale, Phillip residential area. So I'll support anything that moves it from this residential neighborhood, but just keep in mind, I'll also have to oppose the next option and the next option and the next option, because whichever way you spin it, it'll likely be in a residential neighborhood in the North End. So I gotta love all the North End residents, so I'll
Councillor Duguay, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do recall debates in this very chambers regarding cell towers in the past. Might I suggest, in support of Councillor Baldwin's recommended course of action, that not only would we speak to this particular residential locate, we speak to it in general, because we're gonna get, it'll be the next application, the next neighborhood, the next neighborhood. But the industry itself is acknowledging that to improve the cell phone service that persons want and desire can be achieved by way of a tower installation somewhere in that geographical area. But if we are going to proceed with a letter of concern to the ISED on behalf of the federal government, MP Harrison, I think we should say, so we write it once, we say we're concerned about the proximity of towers to residential land uses, period. Not just this one-off, we do it generally. Frankly, my experience would suggest to me that it will be received and the tower will end up somewhere in that general vicinity. But the other thing to vote down, if we were voting down this recommendation, we would be voting down the fact, we would be saying that we didn't follow, staff did not follow and ensure that our city's telecommunication structures and policy procedure wasn't met. It has been met. We just don't like we're not comfortable with the result. So I agree with Councillor Baldwin's. We can have a letter that's comprehensive in its application, speaks to residential properties in general, including the subject property. Thank you.
Councillor Purnell, please.
Thank you, Mayor. We have been through this a number of times during my term of council. And we do, as a city, as a municipality, have a procedure in place to deal with this. And this does make anybody who wants to erect a cell phone communication tower anywhere in the city, they have to go through this procedure. Except if they can find a place, a location that fits with their network requirements. And that's very, very important here. If they could find a spot in the city that fits within their network requirements, that they can avoid having to go through this whole procedure, or they could find a piece of city land, which we also encourage them to do, they would pick it. So they would definitely be looking for the best possible location to avoid residential areas extensively before ever going through this process. At the end of the day, we as a city can say, oh, well, we don't want it there. But they will say, and it's in our own procedure even, if it is necessary for network completion, it will be approved by the federal government. And the other thing that we did learn, this council has not had the benefit of the presentations from public health on this. But a number of us have, and what we have learned, and we all have these cell phones, even people opposing the cell phone tower have cell phones. And if you want, the closer that communication tower is to your cell phone, the safer your cell phone is. If you're on your cell phone and it's getting hot, it's because it's working way too hard to get that signal. That's where the problem is for our kids. So if you have a good, complete network, this is what we've learned. If it's a complete network, the phone is more efficient and less dangerous to everybody who has it in their hands or next to their heads. That's important. That's why they need to have this network completion. Very important to remember. To vote against A is nonsense, really, because they have followed this procedure. They would have avoided it if at all possible by picking another location if one existed that fit their network completion, but they couldn't. So this is it. And again, the letters of concern are being forwarded to the decision-making body who's going to make the final decision. And they're going to look at, is this tower necessary for network completion? That's the bottom line. We've been through this a number of times. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Purnell. Any further speakers on this? We'll go to a vote. That is carried. Councillor Hakey, I think it's yours now. Q.
Yeah,
9Q?
H and H, heritage and heritage.
Designation
And
of
Hakey, I mean.
164, Sherbrooke Street that we received a letter on.
Thank you. I'll move it for discussion. Do we have to move this?
We'll get a second here. Councillor Vasiliadis, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, sir. So I'll actually cover off 9, Q, R, and S if I can. We did receive a letter today from the Larry family. I phoned Brian and chatted with him. He contacted his insurance company, and funny enough, we're talking about the insurance, the cost of insurance. So I had a discussion with them. Their insurance company said that they, without assessing the building, but there would be a higher fee for it if they will insure it at all. Now, I also had a conversation with a broker, retired. He sold his business a couple of years ago, a friend of mine, and he said, Dave, there's companies that won't even touch it. And they're talking specifics. I mentioned about the old Y. Those rounded windows were $50,000 a piece. That's one of the problems. I always have a problem myself with the owner of the building not wanting it designated, and I'll use Mrs. Zhang, who was here tonight at 123 Simcoe Street. They invested $680,000, we heard, but that doesn't include the initial investment of buying the building. So they're well over $1 million. When you start restricting things that you can do to a building, it's going to raise the cost, not just insurance, but the cost of replacing or building. And it is a stigma that's attached on the building. The first question I get asked when dealing with buildings, is there any heritage designation on it? So I am speaking to 164. The Larry family, I know we all got the message or the letter that he sent. So it's something that I don't support against the wishes of, I know this comes as a shock, against the wishes of the owner. Thank you.
Councillor Vasiliadis, please.
No, thank you, Mayor. I remember last term having such problems with the process. And so our process has gotten better and our communication's gotten better where people are actually reaching out to us and sending us. I really like this letter. It talks about a family and a generational business and it talks about the family and how they recognize the significance of the character of the building and that they have actually done all they can to respect the heritage part of it all too, if you read the letter. And so it's a great kind of communication piece that, our process that we reach out and then we do get feedback, because I remember last term we ended up getting no feedback and just trying to push these heritage designations. So I mean, Councillor Hakey has been the champion on this one and respecting the ownerships of these buildings and the people that own them. But I certainly do like that our process is getting better and that we are actually getting to understand what the owners do feel about the heritage designation to their buildings. But and again, I won't support the designation for this particular one. Thank you.
Any further speakers? Councillor Burke and then Councillor Chica.
Yeah, I'll just be quick. I really understand the viewpoint from the letter that we received, and I know people that have been tenants in that building and can sort of attest to what the previous two speakers have said about how that's been maintained, and I take that to heart. But I think the broader question for us, especially when we have things that came through the tourism strategy, especially when we're talking about economic development. I think that if we're worried that there's too much pressure and cost and onus put on the property owner in these cases where we're trying to preserve the character of our city historically, not just for the current owner, but for future owners, I believe that we have to at some point start to look at ways that we can support people in these decisions that we're trying to make, because the flip side of the spectrum is that we just end up like, a lot of the communities that I travel to that are outside of the GTA that don't have the character, that don't have the history, that don't have the stories and experiences attached to the places. And I would hate to live in a place that didn't have that. I would hate to live in a place that didn't have buildings like the Larry Electric Building. So I think that I'm fine to take to heart what was said in the letter, and I believe it because I've heard through experiences how that building has been maintained and managed. But I think the broader question for us is like, how do we find a way to encourage people to want to have their places designated? Because for every story of people being scared around what this process looks like, I could counteract that with a beautiful example of how buildings that were designated are just so special and have been modernized in such a unique way and an important way. My dad bought a building on George Street that was designated, and I was around for that experience, and definitely he didn't feel limited by that process. And the building today now stands. It's used in unique and new purposeful ways. It was an aging kind of mothballed department store that was vacant, and now it has a vibrancy around it that is also considerate of preserving the heritage of that building. So I believe there's a way for us to have a balanced viewpoint on this, and I believe we have to sort of look at grants or funding opportunities to build that reserve back that did give property owners a significant tax break if their building got designated. Thank you.
Councillor Chica, please.
Thank you very much. Through you, Your Worship. I just wanted to speak to just to step back and look at the Heritage Act and the process that exists is an effort to elevate in cities like ours the importance of public the public appreciation and the longevity and the preservation of important historical sites. And I just read an article, I believe it was the Globe and Mail, it was one of the major publications around Port Perry and how they've elevated their historical designations, and a striking photograph of the downtown core and how they designated their whole downtown. I mean, there's a reason that the Heritage Act is in place. And, we passed a motion because insurance companies are not complying. So we have these obstacles that we're working against. But the one piece is that we may not have the same responsible owner owning that building. And it does have a significance. And our PACAC committee, goes through the history and the criteria so diligently and with such detail and clarity to underscore the historic significance so that we can appreciate it for generations to come. We don't know who's going to own a building in generations to come. If the past owner has been taking care of it, the next owner may demolish it. So that's the purpose of heritage designations. So I just encourage us all to think about that there is an appeal process, and owners should be aware of listings and that there is a process involved. We do want to preserve some of our buildings and not keep our staff working so hard in our PACAC committee at bringing things forward and putting the hours into it and then deciding to pull it. I just think it sets a precedent, and we need to think beyond it. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further speakers on this? Councillor Riel, please.
Through His Worship, I think we have to take this boogeyman mentality out of heritage. And I don't think that we're doing justice to the Heritage Act. I don't know, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn. I think our staff needs to go and visit these properties and talk to the owners. Not giving them a letter that your building came up and we're going to designate it. You need to talk to them about the Heritage Act and what is involved and what you can and cannot do. Give them some comfort that why we want the building to be a heritage property. And like Councillor Burke said, maybe there needs to be, and there was some funds there for people that wanted to avail themselves to enhance their buildings under the Heritage Act. But when we keep getting this here and there's a list of properties that by the end of the year have to come up, we serve them a letter and saying, we're going to designate your property. I have no idea. I'm just listening to what Councillor Hickey said tonight about the insurance company. I mean, but all of the things should be spelled out to the owner, why we're doing this, They may, at the end of the day, say, thank you very much for the conversation, but I totally do not want you to put my building on the Heritage Act. But they may say, now that you've explained all the do's and don'ts under the Heritage Act, why you want to do this, why you want to preserve the heritage of the city of Peterborough, then yeah, I can buy into this here and we can work together. But I'm not hearing that that is being done. I could be absolutely wrong. But I think that needs to be done and just not a hand delivered letter saying your number come up and we're going to put your building on the heritage. And these are the date that it's coming to council. You can say yay or nay. You also have the option. I don't want to see them go to some sort of court over this here. I would sooner be working with them because I want to preserve the heritage of the downtown. That's what the whole thing is about, not to impose some rules on them that they can't live. We had a couple here tonight that own a building. We're trying to preserve the heritage of that building, not have it resold and then the building tore down. You can get a permit to demolish in a week. I don't want to see that happen. I want to see the buildings that we maintain here. And of course, it's going to be expensive and some money spent, but I want to see us enhance the downtown and keep what we have. Why do people travel to Europe? To look at the heritage. That's pretty simple. So what do we have to offer here? We have some heritage here. It may be only 200 or 300 years old, but we have some heritage here. We have to preserve it.
Councillor Hickey for a second time.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I went to Europe because my wife said we're going. So that's why I ended up in Europe. You know, to Councillor Burke's point, I mean, building for building. If you have one with a heritage designation and one without a heritage designation, you will get more for the one without the heritage designation on it because buyers don't like being limited unless it's for their own use, which a lot of times that happens. They buy it specifically for that. The bigger problem, the bigger issue I have, and this is a typical government download where we're dealing with all the fallout at this level from the province. The province gives us the right to do it. Should we do it? That's debatable. I think it infringes on your property rights, and that's something that I wish they had put in the Canadian Constitution back in '82, but they didn't. And I remember them debating it, and it was, I believe, Trudeau that said it's not going in there. So again, you've got families, and to Councillor Lachika's point, today the families are dealing with the property, and it's great, and it's kept up. And tomorrow you don't know what you're going to get. But generally, what I found, and it's general, is people that are buying downtown are buying it and they will maintain the buildings. And if you take a look around, it's very rare that you see a building that has fallen into such disrepair. I actually have a building right now downtown that I've said to the landlord who's in Toronto, you're going to have to repair the facade. And it's a beautiful facade, but it's worn and it's plywood and pieces of it are falling off, and he's going to do it. Councillor Riel, I think that's a great suggestion. I'm not trying to create more work for staff, but what's wrong with knocking on the door, getting an appointment and say, can I talk to you? And here's some of the things. And maybe it's not as scary for the people. So I think that this, and the nice thing about this conversation is it's open, and I agree with a lot of it. But in the absence of the owner approving it, that's where I have the problem. So we'll do Q first, then we'll do the other ones. I won't talk on the other ones.
Councillor Chica for a second time.
Thank you. This will be short. I just a thought that came into my mind as former or previous speakers were stating the perspectives. I think it would be well worth it to talk to sister municipalities like Cobourg, like Port Hope, like Port Perry, places that have a similar historical landscape, and ask how their councils are grappling with some of these things. And this is often how we find out best practices. I don't know, Director Appleby, if that process has ever occurred where we're talking to other divisions in other municipalities that have heritage at the forefront and are trying to designate buildings, and these things are coming up. Have we or could we take that step? Thank you.
Mr. Appleby, please.
Through your worship, we certainly do converse with colleagues in other municipalities, other heritage professionals, not only in Ontario, but across the country. And we're happy to continue doing that.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Councillor Baldwin, please.
Thank you, Mayor Leo. I see Mr. Walsh in the audience. I wonder if I might ask him a question through you.
Proceed.
Mr. Walsh, if the designation is turned down this evening, is there a period of time at which the building could come back? I'm thinking 5-10 years, and or when the building is sold to a new owner. Could you give us some insight into that, please?
Mr. Walsh, please.
Through your worship to Councillor Baldwin, yes, this property certainly could come up for designation again in the future, but sort of the risk and the sense of urgency in this situation is that on January 1st, 2026, this property will fall off the register and can't be listed again for another 5 years. So while it could be listed again in 5 years and designated at any point in the future, there's also the risk that at sort of any point in the future, be it listed again or not, it could be demolished, and there's no sort of framework under the Heritage Act in place to stop that. Thank you.
So thank you for that. And your worship, just given the letter that we all received, I'm going to make the inference that the present owner is not going to change ownership on that building over the next 5 years. In fact, he's getting his 2 other sons to get into the business. So my recommendation would be that if council in their deliberations decides not to designate, that we look at that opportunity again 5 years or longer, and or if the building is going to change ownership. Thank you.
Councillor Burke for a second time.
I'll try to be quick, Mayor Leo, but I just think I really want to just expand upon Councillor Riel's point, because I think he makes a good point. And I don't think that it's a lack of, I don't think there's anything negligent that happened. I think staff are working within their capacity to do everything they can on this. But you heard tonight from the delegate, they talked about plumbing, they talked about electrical, they talked about creating apartments from that upper space. I know that building very well, from the upper space, creating apartments. And that's an example to Councillor Riel's point, because the designation only applies to the facade of the building, right? This happened with another property owner before, where they were concerned with internal stuff, and they actually didn't have a sense of what was being designated and what wasn't. So I think that if we had the capacity in these letters that went out to the residents, just to be really clear with bullet points as to which features are being designated, I think that would be great. And it would sort of maybe dampen the reaction that people have when they hear stuff like this from out of nowhere and have significantly invested in properties. I totally understand where people are coming from. But in the one case from a few council cycles back, it was actually a couple of very specific things that we were designating. We were designating the pitch of the roof, the way that the windows, the design of the windows on the facade, and then the front roof of the building. So it's actually not that of it's only a situation where if they wanted to completely redevelop the building, that they would come under any need to do it differently. So I agree with the councillor that if staff could be available or include in these letters just some of the very simple specifics of what's being designated, I think that could help. Thank you.
Councillor Purnell, then Councillor Duguay.
Thank you. Just to follow up on some colleagues' comments. So we talk a lot about consultation, and before this term of council, we didn't even really consult with the property owners at all. We didn't even ensure that they had proper notification. We brought in this term of council that they get a registered letter and that we check to make sure that they've signed for it and if I have received it and have an opportunity to look at it and have the opportunity to learn. I do agree that a follow-up phone call and explaining or having more information in that letter to explain what the process is, I think that would also be very helpful. So we are, improving the communication piece around this. We do want to keep the facades. They are beautiful, but I also understand that, this is a great investment for people. And it's a burden on them. And we know the insurance piece already. So thank you.
Councillor Duguay.
I think, Your Worship, we've had this discussion in these chambers many times during this term, but having said that, I find it interesting that later on our agenda, item 9U is a motion that was unanimously approved previous council where we've identified concerns regarding heritage listings and insurance implications. It's a fact. And I'll remind colleagues, just to put in perspective, and I am repeating a previous reference. Through my mother's estate upon her passing, I had to secure as the executor vacant occupancy of my mother's home. It's a row dwelling built in Windsor. So when I dealt with the broker, went through a series of questions, and then he said, "Is the building designated?" And I said, "Well, no, it is not." But I asked why. And then he told me why. And then he had a series of subsequent questions. It would have meant, in this case, a building, if it was designated, they would have had to, the estate would have had to have secured a new appraisal by a qualified professional. And he guaranteed that the insurance rates would increase. And in some instances, depending upon the elements, the exterior elements, that there are many insurance companies that simply will not insure. Hence why we have on our agenda, item 9U, where we have a motion, we're saying to the province and others, you need to help us with these insurance companies. Now, relative 164 Sherbrooke Street, I believe that's what we're talking about. When you consider, Mr. Walsh's reports are always thorough. And but the report speaks to the summary of heritage attributes to be designated found on page 9. And these are the exterior elements. So it's the 2-story brick construction, the flat roof, the 1-story addition, large multi-pane windows, the parapet, decorative brickwork, fenestration, entrance. Well, let's imagine going forward that something happens to some of this and they now have to replace this. They ensure if there's some damage, it becomes exceedingly difficult. In some cases, you can't replace the brick. The brick doesn't exist. The very home that I live in, the very home I live on Main Street and one next door, we've been told that brick color no longer exists. So how do you replace the brick? It's not the same color. So relative 160 Sherbrooke Street, to Councillor Parnell's point, we have a policy, a refreshed policy, and to staff, thank you, that we do reach out to property owners. They are attending the meetings. They are commenting. Could we do better communicate? Could we tell them more about what it means? Perhaps, but I believe they're here because they've received information. But relative to 164, we've heard from a property owner their concerns, and in the past we have voted generally consistently to not proceed with the designation. If we did proceed with the designation and it did, Your Worship, end up proceeding to the Ontario Land Tribunal, it will cost us money. It will cost the ratepayer.
Councillor Duguay, you want your second 3?
Might as well. We're going to be here till midnight. Yeah. Again, to the process that I would not want us to be boxing somebody into a corner by virtue of decision in which their only option is thus to appeal matters to the Ontario Land Tribunal. It's not a fun experience. It will cost the ratepayers of this city a lot of money. To Councillor Burke's point, perhaps we have reached the time relative to our budget deliberations 2027, where we might consider enhancing the fund that we have available to assist properties that are designated. Mr. Welsh, can you confirm, has that fund, I believe each year we tap out and it has not increased for years, or is that a question that you can respond to? Thank you.
Mr. Walsh, please.
Through your worship to Councillor Duguay, no, the sort of amount that we draw from has not been increased in a number of years.
So, Your Worship, and I'll conclude by saying this, that perhaps thus through our forthcoming budget deliberations, this council, next council might want to consider to incent and encourage, maybe we enhance that pot of money. It may be enough. But I realize if we're increasing the amount, it comes at the expense of taxpayers. But it's the taxpayers we've heard that are enjoying the architectural and heritage attributes of our community. I'll keep that. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dickey. Any further comments? We'll go to a vote. The designation, that report is defeated. Q, Councillor Hickey.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move it. You've heard my.
We need a seconder. Councillor Beaver. Councillor Hickey, you have the floor.
Yeah, you've heard my. Sorry, I won't say any more on this one.
And we had a representation this evening. On
Yes, Mrs. Zhang. Thank you.
Further comments? Comments? We'll go to a vote. Oh, Councillor Duguay did a.
Worship, we're voting on item 9R, correct? Yes.
Sorry, R. That's my mistake. R. Yes, I'm sorry. It was R. We're voting. R. Yes. 123 Simcoe Street. And that designation doesn't carry. The next one, S has already been carried. Mr. Clerk, I think that completes it. S was done on consent. Okay, Councillor Hickey, go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to clarify.
Both of us had it on consent.
It shouldn't have been. I had it marked in my. Oh, yes, I missed it.
Okay.
Okay, but if I can, I will make just a comment about it.
Quickly.
It's boarded. Some of the windows are boarded and bricked up, and it's an older building, but it's maintained well. But that's water under the bridge on that one. Yep. Thank you.
We're on to bylaws, and Councillor Crowe, we will pull out the bylaws that are germane to your pecuniary interest. Clerk, can we just get those first? It's moved by Councillor Purnell, Councillor Hickey. Could we deal with those two bylaws that are germane to Councillor Crowley's pecuniary interest? Could just identify those first, please.
Thanks, Your Worship. Those would be bylaws 26-077, which is 10G.
Yes.
And 26-078, which is 10H.
It's been moved by Councillor Purnell, second by Councillor Duguay. We'll go to a vote. That's carried. I'll get someone to move bylaws 2671 to 2676. We dealt with G and H. and then from 2079 through to 26086. Councillor Purnell, Councillor Duguay, we'll go to a vote.
Yes. 10-0 is designating 123 Simcoe Street. Do we, since that
Clerk?
lost, do we?
I'll just get a, Mr. Clerk, please.
That's correct, Your Worship. Yep.
So, Mr. Clerk, that one would be out.
That's correct, Your Worship. It's.
And Mr. Clerk, is another bylaw related to another designation that's there? That was. Just double checking here.
Yeah, Your Worship, there's 10C is reference to Simcoe Street 172, 74. That one is not.
That's pulled too?
No,
Yep.
that's fine.
Yep.
As is 212 London, as is 214 London, which is 10C, D, and E. And F is 216 London.
So we're okay then, Mr. Clerk. So we have Councillor Purnell,
Okay,
Councillor Duguay, with the exception of 10-0. Councillor questions? We'll go to a vote. That's carried. Other business, Councillor Baldwin, on the cell tower letters.
Yeah, Your Worship, I'm going to defer to Councillor Crowley. It was his idea.
Councillor Crowley.
Thank you, Your Worship. So
Cell tower letters.
yes, I believe the wording for the motion is pretty simple, and I sent it to both clerks. So the wording is that Council for the City of Peterborough sent a formal letter to the ISED and MP Emma Harrison voicing concerns about the location of cell towers to residential properties and schools, including the subject property and report IPGPL 26-025. I hope that meets with everyone's approval.
Yes, I think Councillor Hickey's prepared to second that.
Excellent.
Comments or questions? We'll go to a vote. Sorry, Councillor Duguay.
Councillor Crowley, Smither extraordinaire. Sir, did your motion, did it include that it's specific to this site, but are we speaking to residential properties in general, or did I miss that?
I'll repeat it again because maybe I mumbled, but I will repeat it again. That Council for the City of Peterborough send a formal letter to the ISED and MP Emma Harrison voicing concerns about the location of cell towers to residential properties and schools, including the subject property and report IPG PL 25-26.
Merci beaucoup.
My e-scribe just crashed, John, so I'm in favor.